just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you by Grumpy Coffee. And if you have ordered, please, and you haven't got it yet, please don't stress. The launch was way bigger than we expected. So we are plowing through the orders as quickly as possible. We're actually hiring more people as we speak to get through the packing and the sending. So apologies for the delay, but they are coming, so don't stress. And then once this launch is sorted, it will go back to the normal programming, which will be when you make an order, it should be to you within 2 to 3 days max. Also, some people have been questioning, do you guys roast and then does it sit there for 30 days and then you send it? No, usually within 7 days of the order is when we try to send our beans out, because obviously we don't want to sit in there for ages. We wouldn't do that to you. This is a high quality product. But yes, apologies for the delay, guys. It's just the launch was way bigger than we expected, but we're getting through it, and it'll be back to business as usual. And as I said, if you enjoy a good coffee, a high-quality coffee, head to grumpycoffee.com.au. Just the feedback from the people that have got it has been incredible, just incredible. It's a beautiful, absolutely beautiful coffee if you want to give it a try. Root, how you going, brother?
I'm going well, mate. Loving my grumpy coffee. Been getting stuck in every morning.
Ooh, nice and smooth. How you going, Timmy?
Going good, Campy. Thank you, mate. A little shout out as well. A little happy birthday to our mate Roo yesterday. Celebrated his 40th. So.
Oh, wow. 40th, how?
Thought you were being nice for a second there.
Oh, happy birthday, Roo.
Thanks, mate.
And to celebrate, you went down to Resi's to watch the grand final.
I did, yeah. Spent my birthday at the Jersey Flegg grand final, so it was good times. Roosters bowed out, gave me a little birthday present. 3 weeks overdue.
Wow. Sticking the boot in. Matty, how you going, mate?
I'm good. Back at the desk here after a week off, but yeah, great final week. Very
Hammy?
exciting.
Darren Lockyer.
Don't have too much energy. How you going, Hammy?
Yeah, just good to soak up Fist Bowl weekend. It was good to see that extend across both codes as well, with my Sydney Swans absolutely copping it. Fourth grand final in a row, we've been smashed, so I do need my frown turned upside down. Thank God for the grumpy coffee this morning. A lot of people asking me, would you rather win 3 spoons in a row or get absolutely hammered in 2 out of 3 grand finals? Tough question.
Get hammered in 2 grand finals, for sure.
Yeah, I suppose
because you get to enjoy the grand
more
final
of the
week.
season. You do.
And the hope.
Yep.
The hope is what you enjoy the most.
Yep.
Having experienced it last year.
Yeah. It's emotional stuff. It's been a pretty tough month or so for me, but hanging in there.
Yeah. Well, if you ever need to talk, I've been through it. I literally went through it last year. So
Thanks for your support. How was your weekend?
Mate, my weekend was great. It was actually really good. Just played video games pretty much.
I saw that actually. What were you playing?
World of Warcraft. Haven't played video games this much in a very long time, and it's so good, and I'm enjoying it so much because obviously there's not heaps of footy on, so I can actually do stuff. I can actually do stuff that obviously watching footy is good, but when you're in round 26 and it's the Tigers versus Titans, can be tough. Be tough. I'm not trying to complain. I got the best job in the world, but anyway, so just play video games.
When I first met you, I remember we somehow World of Warcraft came up at some point, and I just remember sitting there. It's the most passionate I've ever heard you speak. It blew, and I don't know anything about it, but it blew me away how passionate you are about it.
Mate, my hobby is video games.
I remember there was something you said once, something about if someone was good at it or played it a lot, to put it on their resume, or if they were the leader of a
people had used it. If you're a leader of a guild,
guild. That's the word.
It's basically like being a manager.
Yeah.
It really is. But people that don't play World of Warcraft wouldn't know that kind of stuff. But actually, I haven't been playing video games for long stints of playing for 10 years. However, I actually follow the video game industry. So it's if you're talking about a hobby, it's my hobby.
What's the greatest video game of all time?
Ultima Online, Witcher 3, and World of Warcraft, pretty much. Those 3.
Hasn't played Crash Bandicoot.
No, missed out on the Crash Bandicoot era.
Rugby League Live 2.
Alrighty, tonight, 6 p.m, guys, we are teaming up with Aussie Footy Shorts. That is right, footy shorts with pockets. And guess what colours we've got? We've got the famous blue colour footy shorts with pockets, famous maroon colour footy shorts, famous green and gold colour footy shorts, and also black and white, and also country bloke footy shorts. Now, this is how much I love teaming up with Oz Footy Shorts. We actually could make the footy shorts ourselves, and we could easily do that. We could have done it for years, but we would rather team up with Aussie Footy Shorts because A, his product is incredible, but B, just what he does, I love it. And he's been doing it for a long time. He started from the start, just like I did. And so, tonight at 6 p.m. we are dropping. Last time we dropped them last year, they were literally gone within minutes, guys. And that's not an exaggeration. It was our fastest drop ever outside of, I think, maybe a jersey drop. That's how quick they went. 6 p.m. tonight, footy shorts with pockets in them. We are partnering with Aussie Footy Shorts, and we do it because we love working with him. And also, his footy shorts are the best in the business. They'll be on Aussie Footy Shorts website. What do you got there, Matty?
And brown as well. There's 6
and the classic brown as well. We've got the classic brown, classic bloke coloured brown. So a massive thank you to Aussie Footy Shorts for partnering with us. And as I said, we love partnering 6 p.m. tonight. 6 p.m. tonight. What do you got there?
I just laughing. Matty sounds like he could chip to you down the sideline. Touchdown, be a fourth in the corner.
Alrighty, let's get into it. Face the Music, brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed, guys. Got some promotions going on at the moment on the feed, so make sure to give us a follow on Sportsbet.
Bit of code hopping from you on the weekend, Lockie Neal 30 plus.
Yeah, look, I'm going to be honest, because there's a promotion going on at the moment, I just chucked a bunch of shit up there so that the punters could hopefully take advantage of it.
Yeah, well, hopefully they got on board. Very, very astute betting from you there. All right, Face the Music this week. Obviously, Storm 48 defeat the Chooks 18 in the first game. What a performance that was by the Storm. Matty, the only one with a try scorer out of this game. He had Jerome Hughes, who actually had 3. So you undersold him there a bit, Matty. You just had the one try there. Everybody had the Storm. Rue and Matty had them covering the 9.5. I had them 13 plus, so bonus point for me. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Next game, Panthers 26
Generous.
He tipped it on Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Fucking
Yeah.
please.
Well, it was half time, that message.
Oh, I had it all. No, it
Great
wasn't
tip,
half
mate.
time.
Well done.
No evidence of that
good.
actually happening, to be honest.
Yeah.
But,
Well, check the group chat. Check the file. Next game, Panthers 26 defeat Sharks 6. Nobody had a try scorer in this one. Not one of us. Everyone had the Panthers winning and covering the 11.5. So 2 points for everybody in that one there. Week 3 final results. Matty, a pretty good comeback from the Greek holiday. He leads the way on 5 points. Alongside me, 5 points as well. Rue, 4 points. Kempy and Timmy, you both had 3 for us.
what's the overall score at the moment for finals footy?
I haven't got it here in front of me at the moment. I'll circle back.
I think it's pretty close. I think it's pretty close.
Well, I was a nudie run last week. I had no points.
Yeah, I know. But I think it's between me, Rue, and maybe Matty.
Yep.
I think it's close.
Yep.
I think it's close.
Down to me and Timmy again. Disappointing finals campaigns.
Work to do.
Did you get no points last week?
Yep.
Yep. Zero.
That's good not.
That's why I had to leave the state for a week. Yeah.
Alrighty, that is Face the Music, brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Obviously, we'll give our tips later in the show. Now it's time for Team of the Week, brought to you by Bloke Beer. Grab a case of Bloke Beer. Beer for blokes that turn up for family, mates, and good times. Beautiful, easy drinking lager. Alrighty, at fullback, we've got Pappenhausen. On the wings, we've got To'o and Taruva with a special mention of Tupou from Timmy. In the centres, we've got Alamotti and Howarth. At 6, we got the Mad Dog Munster. The Mad Dog Munster at 6. At 7, highly controversial. I personally still don't know where I land on this one because we basically were split. We were split down the middle between Hughes and Cleary. However, Hughes is at 7. Hughes is at 7. We landed with Hughes at 7. We just thought scoring 3 tries in a prelim, it's almost unheard of.
Yep.
And although Cleary was unbelievable, we just gave the nod to Hughes because he put basically 3 tries in about 50 minutes.
Yep.
Put the Roosters away. So it's just like almost you have to give it to him. As a 7 scoring 3 tries in a prelim, it's very hard. However, if you've got Cleary in at 7, would not argue that hard against us. I initially had Cleary in at 7, and then we discussed it, and I was like, oh, you know what? We'll put Hughes in there. Guru had Cleary at 7.
Still do.
Matty, Cleary at 7.
Still do.
And then we had Timmy and Hammy with Hughes at 7.
Yep.
Alrighty. At 8, the big dog steps up once again. Fisher Harris, James Fisher Harris. Give them a follow on Instagram, the Bash Bros. And obviously a massive thank you to the boys for doing the Grumpy Coffee launch with us. And also a massive thank you to Biaccini's and Reborn Fitness that let us film the ad at their location. At number 9, Harry Grant. At number 10, Josh King. At number 11, Liam Martin. 12, Katoa. 13, Yo. 14, Cleary. 15, Nelson Asofa-Solomona. 16, Lindsay Smith. And 17, Leoro. That's a team of the week. If I have any comments there, boys, on the team of the week?
I think we made the right call. It was neck and neck for the number 7, so I think, 3 tries in a prelim. Had to be in there.
Imagine 12 months ago saying that in 12 months' time that our team of the week for a prelim final week centres would be Paul Alamotti and Jack Howarth. How good's that?
It's honestly crazy. And we spoke about it in the green room, but this grand final really does show us we don't have a lack of talent in rugby league. We have a lack of high-quality systems that can get the best out of them. Like Alamotti was one of the best players on the field in that prelim. He got basically told from the doggies, like, it doesn't fit, this isn't working. And he's gone from a guy that was one of the most talented guys coming through to then getting to the doggies. It just didn't work out for whatever reason, got moved on, and the doggies at that stage were a bottom tier side, goes to the Panthers. Then he's not even the starting centre. It was they lose Critter, Taylor May comes in, they lose Taylor May, Alamotti gets a crack, and now all of a sudden he's one of the best players on the field in a prelim.
I remember us sitting at the pub a year ago having a chat, and I remember I said, fuck, I don't know if I've ever got anyone more wrong than Alamotti. He just looked so dominant in juniors coming through, and then he just didn't look up to it at Canterbury. Fast forward a year later, I'm confident he's a quality centre going to a grand final.
It's funny because last year we were very critical of him at the doggies for obvious reason, and it's obviously worth noting it was his debut year. He was young, first crack at it. You're not going to fall into place straight away, but we said it as soon as it happened, and I thought he was underwhelming in 2023, but the second he signed with Penrith, you just went, he's going to go over there, fall into this system and kill it. And there's something you bring up quite often, Kempy, and when particularly young blokes and fringies sign elsewhere, if you get an option to sign at a gun NRL club, like a top 2-3 NRL club, and there's a vacancy in a spot, take it, you will kill it, sign your big contract after that, the rest is like it'll be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, genuinely, it can be the difference between a 10-year career and a 2-year career of just didn't work out. Like, all this talent just didn't work out. So that is our team of the week, guys. Now it's time for our hungriest player. Now, hungriest player, usually, most cases I would say it's the best player of the weekend, but sometimes there are other factors that play into it. And this week's hungriest player is Ryan Papenhuyzen. That's right. Use code RYAN, RYAN, for free delivery. Minimum spend is $30. Now, the reason why I selected Ryan Papenhuyzen as the hungriest player is because here is a guy that's almost been flying under the radar for this whole season. At one stage, there was pressure, whilst Teddy was almost in his peak, from Ryan Papenhuyzen to get his spot in the Blues jersey. Now, I always thought Teddy should get it, and I thought that, but that's how good he was playing. That the conversation was even happening. That's how good he was. He's won a Clive Churchill, obviously won a premiership, gets to a prelim. Like, think about how much this bloke has been through. Prelim arrives, and you could argue that a lot of, like, put it this way, if he doesn't have the moments that he had early on in the game, then the tension between the Roosters and the Roosters could have won that first 20 minutes. It was Nelson coming back on, and then Ryan Papenhuyzen's incredible play and multiple plays that really, I guess, won that battle, because there was friction at the start of the Roosters Storm game, so much so that the Roosters obviously scored first. And so I just think the journey of Ryan Papenhuyzen to come all the way back from what he's been through to be one of the best players on the field in a prelim is why I consider him the hungriest player this week.
I thought just a couple of his plays on the weekend were tremendous. Obviously, the try he scored, and I love the way that Pappy, he just sees cues straight away. He saw Connor Watson on the ground. You could even see when Connor Watson stood up, he looked up and went, fuck, one marker, we're in all sorts here. The one that I love, though, was Will Warbrick catches the ball with 1 foot on the line. Yeah. And if you watch where Pappy is, he's under the sticks, and he doesn't even communicate to Warbrick. He just sprints to the left side, where the side had come chasing through because he knew there'd be a spot there, and all of a sudden he's making a line break there. Just those instincts to just go, those guys chase through, I know where I need to be, I'll get there, I'll trust my guy to do his job. It was incredible.
Well, you think about all the involvements he had. He had the try where he just gasses Angus Crichton. Then he has the try assist where he does an incredible flick pass inside and Hughes goes over. Then on top of that, at the end of the game, just off the top of the dome, when I think it was Harry Grant gets out of dummy half on the Roosters line, like, that play wasn't called. Like, that wasn't a set play, but just to know to be there to run. Like, when we always talk about the best fullbacks in the game that are just around the ruck, ready to go, and he was just there and scores that try. And then obviously we talk about the try that Howard scored, little baby Goosey, which I love to see. That's just all effort. Like, that's not skill. That's not, this guy was born with natural talent or whatever. That is, you never stop moving your feet. And what do you think of Pappenhausen's performance, mate?
Yeah, outstanding. And there was a number of obviously big names that you could have given the Hungry's player to this week. But the reason that I went Hughes over Cleary, and the reason why I think Pappy is a worthwhile or a worthy sort of winner this week, as you said, Kemp, it's just when they did their damage. Like, Hughes had his hat trick within 52 minutes and the game was essentially done. Pappenhausen scored a late-ish try, but his first half performance was outstanding, and the game was just about over off the back of coming out of the blocks and exploding. He's just coming back from all these injuries in the last couple of years, the last couple of weeks, and obviously in particular on the weekend, he just finally looks like he's got his full zip back. That elite speed off the mark, it's been getting there, but up until the last week or two, we haven't seen him look as lethal as he has, and it's terrifying. And what's also terrifying from a Penrith perspective is that the team of the week, we have the entire Melbourne spine, and every one of them you could have made a case for that could have been the hungriest player. They're stepping up when it matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I like about Ryan Pappenhausen is all the injuries have forced him to work on his ball playing. If you go and watch a few years ago, his ball playing compared to now is like, seriously, it probably was like a 6 out of 10 back. Like, we always saw Pappenhausen as a running fullback. Ironically, it's a bit similar to Billy Slater's journey, not the injuries, but Billy Slater came in as a running fullback. And then they just worked and worked and worked and worked, and then his ball playing became what it is. Like, Pappy, a few years ago, he's not throwing flick balls inside for Hughes to come under through that gap. Like, it's just amazing. And as I said, like, there was 4 weeks ago, I reckon there was a substantial amount, not a majority, but a substantial amount of people that would have said Fa'alongo should have been the fullback over Pappenhausen. Like, that's the pressure that he was under. Granted, I never felt that way. I always felt Pappy was the best fullback at the competition, in the Storm. It's just an incredible journey about perseverance. He's now in another grand final when, what was it, 12 months ago, you're going, will this bloke be back into first grade? Will he actually fight to win his spot back? Like, that was the conversation. That's where his career was at due to just incredibly unlucky injuries. So, huge fan of Pappenhausen as a bloke and as a player. And that's why, for me, you could find your Hughes and Cleary as hungriest player. However, hungry can mean many things, and I think Pappenhausen has shown that with everything he's done off the field to get back where he is today. Alrighty, let's get into some hot takes, shall we? So hot right now. Who's got a hot take for the audience today?
Me, I've got one.
Okay.
All right, my hot take this week is Nelson Asofa-Solomona should be allowed to play the grand final this weekend.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. A couple of years ago, heading into a grand final, Taylor May, 2-match suspension. It was delayed. PVL came out and said fans deserve to see the best players in the game at the most important times of the season. So I don't think he should get off, but I think they should suspend the sentence until the start of next season. I just think, based on the precedent that was set a couple of years ago, how can you deny a bloke playing the grand final this weekend for what happened on the weekend?
Question.
Yep.
If it's Jerome Luai, are you happy to see him miss the start of next season coming to your club?
Well, obviously not, but, we've already got a couple that we're missing next year, so why not throw them on board? But I just think this is the most important game of the year. You want your best players out there for the best product. It would be a shame to see him not out there going toe-to-toe with the Penrith pack. I think he should be playing.
What do you reckon, boys?
I disagree. I would love to see him play personally, but the rules are the rules. NASA's got, a pretty long rap sheet, realistically. I think you make your own bed. And once again, if the Roosters would have won that game and they're in the grand final, Lindsay Collins wouldn't be allowed to play this week because of the actions of Nas. So it sucks. I wish he was there. It'd be a better grand final if he was, but I think it is what it is.
Do you think the precedent, though, of them saying Taylor May can play?
I think the Taylor May thing's bullshit. I said that at the time. I fucking hate that. I hate that comes into this conversation. And I understand where you're coming from, that 100%. I wish they wouldn't have done that. But anyway, I still, on-field suspension, I think it has to stand.
Yeah, I've got a foot in both camps. I don't think you should play just because I think you've got to be, as you say, there's the Taylor May precedent, but I think you've just got to be somewhat consistent. And like, this is his fourth charge this year. I think one was a dangerous tackle and 3 of them were like high and careless high and all sorts of things. So no, I don't think you should play, especially when it's been pitched as a 4-match ban or something. I don't think he should be a valid play. However, I think there's got to be an overhaul of that system, and I think, as Hammy sort of alluded to, I think we need to change it because...
So at the moment, I think they do grade differently in
tweaked,
finals. Yeah, tweaked slightly. Yeah.
And origins and that as well. So I'm glad they did that, make that tweak a couple of years ago, I think it was. But we have this conversation time and time again. It comes up every year with a different player, but we want our best players playing grand finals. Players work their entire careers to get to this point and playing a grand final. And, Nas has fortunately had a few opportunities, but it's going to rob the grand final of one of the biggest stars. Granted, due to his own actions, there's no excuses. He needs to know better, but I just think we need to do everything we can to get the best players on deck for grand finals.
Yeah, this is a super hard one for me because, look, if we woke up tomorrow and we had no history of people missing the grand final, I'd almost go, look, let's just... Unless there's intent there, like unless you can see like a swinging arm or like he really did intend to kind of hurt, then I think you'd kind of just have to let someone play in a grand final. They've worked their whole life for it. However, if he is to play, then you look back at blokes like Cam Smith, you look at back blokes at like Isaac Luke. Those kind of players missing their grand final, it's like, I know two wrongs don't make a right. However, yeah, it's so tough because, okay, so look at it from the Roosters' perspective. Imagine they get through and they are without Lindsay Collins for that grand final. How pissed you'd be as a Roosters fan.
He's also worked his entire life to be there.
However, the flip side of that is it wasn't intentional, and these things happen in rugby league. Like, how do you, he basically hit his chest, and so it's one of those. It's a really tough one. Unfortunately for me personally, put it this way: if Lindsay Collins didn't get basically suspended for the grand final because of the head knock, I would say let him play. But I think the fact that Collins would have had to miss it, unfortunately, I just think you have to go.
I like, though, Kempy, that you use the word intent there. It's like, we say it all the time, that it's a physical game, accidents are going to happen, high shots are going to happen. If they deem there is intent, maybe that's the case where you go, all right, this could have been avoided, this didn't need to happen, it wasn't an accident, all right, rub them out. But when we know these things are going to happen in prelims, in big games, that's where I'm like, just freaking let them play this game.
So tough. I honestly, I don't know what the right answer is. Like, I wake up one day and I feel a certain way. I wake up the next day, I feel another way. Like, I hate to see Nas miss the grand final. And also because, like, when you watch what actually happened, like, there was no intent there. Like, there was nothing unusual about the tackle in regards to, like, he didn't shoot out of the line. There was actually another person in the tackle. Lindsay Collins was bracing for contact. Okay, here's a question. Would you rather him be sent off for the game and then be allowed to play the next game, and that's his punishment served?
No, because, I know that game was pretty one-sided, but especially that happened in the first, to start the game, that can just cost a team a game. Like, there's every chance... It can just ruin a game straight off the bat if he gets sent off, and it doesn't deserve a send-off. So from his individual circumstance, he's going, I want to play in a grand final, but that ruins a game.
Yeah, well, you have a look at what happened in the game. The Roosters were actually leading while Nas was off the field. It was almost the moment that he came back on that the Storm scored their first try. So could have been a different result, could have been a different side in the grand final this weekend if he had been sent off for the whole game.
The Roosters probably win that if he gets sent off.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any argument that it was a grade 1 careless? Because it's currently grade 3. Grade 1 gets him off.
What I'm definitive of, the charge is outrageous. Like, that tackle is nowhere near as bad as ones we've seen that are charged grade 3.
Yep.
That's what I don't understand. A grade 3 for that, like, that's bizarre to me. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It feels like they've gone too far on purpose almost.
That's what I mean. Like, that makes no sense to me, a grade 3 for that.
For sure.
Like, put it this way. If Lindsay gets up and plays the ball, I know that this is a lot of what ifs or whatever. He probably would still get sin binned, but there's no way he gets charged a grade 3. I think it's because he got up and played the ball backwards.
Well, I think that's the other thing, the optics around it. It's the number one thing the NRL's so concerned about, these kickoffs.
I was going to say, he did play the ball, he's played it the wrong way.
Yeah, so in my heart of hearts, I just go, fuck, just let him play. Like, that's what I, as a former player, knowing what he's going to miss out on. But then when you bring up, like, if Roosters had have made it, Collins would have been able to play.
Yeah, that's
what stings me.
That's the interesting sticking point where you're like, all right, I could probably see that from a Roosters perspective. Yeah. From the other perspective of, Smith missed one, Isaac Luke missed one, I just reckon now that we've put a bit of a precedent in place in the last 5 years where it's like, all right, we can suspend that sentence so that person can play. I thought there might have been a bit of a case there.
There's every part of me that wants him to play, and I would love to see him out there. It's the best thing for the game. But I think the conversation ends with the Lindsay Collins argument.
Like
If he's not allowed to be out there, then why the fuck should Nas be
There is a
there?
reverse argument too. If that was the rule that you could suspend it, then Jared Weir-Hargraves could have just annihilated everyone, and he wouldn't have got suspended because he's retiring.
That's the grey area to the suspending the suspension, like taking back next year.
That's
where,
intent, though. That's what
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, true. Good show.
that's-
That becomes intent.
Yeah, intent.
Yeah, if you can't just get out there and belt blokes off the ball and stuff like that. I
Yeah,
think it's
for sure.
in the case of a Nas one where it was like just a hard tackle that went a little bit wrong.
Yep.
You know, that's where I don't know. It's
Man, you know what? If he ran out, I wouldn't be too angry. If he gets off the charge, I wouldn't be that angry. I know it sucks. I know Roosters fans are sitting there going, hang on a sec. We lost a key front rower in a crucial match that could have, if Collins stays on a lot of the tries were through the middle. That's where Collins is.
Yep.
However, that's where I go back to, but Nas didn't mean to hit him.
Yeah.
Like, if it was something where, he was screaming out from outside in or he was shooting up out of the line, I'd go, mate, 100% agree with you. But it was an accident. I think even Roosters fans will admit, like, that was just pure accident. But it's so hard. I don't know what the friggin' right answer is.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I think we all want him to play because we want the best game
Yeah.
of footy we can. Like, this is shaping up as, in my opinion, one of the best. This could be the best grand final we've
Well, I
seen.
think
Like,
I think more about him as a person. I just think like you barely ever get to grand finals, and I just think that he worked his whole life for it. So yeah, oh man, it sucks. It sucks. But at the end of the day, as well, like you can take steps to mitigate that happening. That is also
at the end of the
true.
day, like with Nas, he's one of the world's largest men.
Yeah.
He knows that. I feel for him because these things are going to happen and accidents are going to happen with him just due to his sheer size against his opposition. But he also knows that he has to make extra effort to get low because if he tackles like a normal rugby league player and goes high and catches and does all that, these things are going to happen. He has to go out of his way more than the average player to go lower.
Yeah. Oh man, it sucks so bad. All right, so you're going. Yeah. What?
Yeah, I'm going to say that he should play.
He should play.
Yep.
no.
Yep.
Play.
Yep.
Nah, unfortunately, the Collins thing. If Collins was in a ground, I can't. He'd be, and it was none of his fault. So no, I'm going to say no.
I'd like to see it one day, but certainly can't change the rules this week.
I think if they came out before a season started and just said, guys, we're hitting a reset button on this, and intent is the key focus in finals footy, that's where I could go. Yep, he can.
Yeah.
play.
Well, for the record, I don't think he should play based on the way it's currently set up and the judiciary and suspensions. I just think there should be changes to allow him to play.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you there.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
with you there. I'm just saying, in the current climate we're in, unfortunately not.
In current climate, no.
Yeah. Oh man, it's tough. Let us know in the comment section what you think, guys. Obviously, keep it respectful. Don't go crazy.
Yeah. Mini hot take off the back of that,
Okay.
if I may.
Yeah.
I think we are very close to a change in the kickoff, the way that unfolds.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see what we've seen for 125 years. I think it's going to end up being a little bit like what we're seeing in the NFL at the moment, where we're reducing the distance that the defensive team have to travel, just to minimise these head knocks, because it's 2 weeks in a row now. Some of the most important games of the season, teams have been impacted of the first play of a game due to a head knock. Saw it with Manly last week, saw it with the Roosters this week. It's part of the fabric of the game. I don't know if I love it, but I think it's closer than we might think, to be honest.
Don't comment yet. That's the YouTube question.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Stealing stuff. Oh,
He just doesn't get podcast flow.
just doesn't get it. Ruin the whole show now.
Sorry, you can cut that out.
We'll get to that question because that's the Beak's Bag. And don't forget, guys, for Beak's Bag, leave your question in the YouTube comments. We pick one question each week and we give them a $50 gift voucher. Alrighty, it's time for some topics. Kevin Walters and the Broncos part ways. Boys, we'd love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming, but I understand. Like, I've actually really enjoyed the conversations around this, Ken, because he was in a grand final 12 months ago or whatever, and I get that, but there isn't a Broncos coach in the history of the Brisbane Broncos that could have made finals 1 out of 4 years and survived. It's just the reality of it. Like, when I was a kid watching the Broncos, like, they're in a grand final every other year. They were a top 8 side every single year, and there was no questions about it. The Broncos aren't a trying to be relevant side. They're a win premiership side. It's been a long time. They've picked up a spoon recently. One finals appearance in 4 years. And I mean, you look at the last 2 weeks of the season, the Brisbane Broncos were playing for an opportunity to make the finals. Kevy came out and said, we will be there. How did the playing group respond? 90 points in 2 weeks. I think that says it all.
Yeah, look, I disagree a bit. I was stunned that he got sacked and the way it all panned out. Like you say, you know, what Broncos coach gets finals once in 4 years and doesn't, you know, gets away with it. The grand final or the finals appearance, it wasn't 4 years ago. Like it was 12 months ago. So I think off the back of that alone, I think it was enough even to get, like, I think we sort of spoke pre-show, but maybe at first 10 rounds or something and an opportunity, because with how hard it is to reach grand finals, and not just reach it, but they were a whisker within, like, winning that competition. I was very surprised. I will say, and again, we chatted pre-show, but there's obviously been a review and the findings of it, I don't know what the findings were. And there are clearly some cultural and off-field things going on that, you know, whether that's Kevy's fault or what's going on at the club, I'm not sure. And that must have been quite alarming. So it is different. But, yeah, I just think you've made a grand final last year to be sacked 12 months later. Gee whiz, that's tough in my eyes.
Pretty tough, pretty brutal, but I guess with you know, the list that these guys have got together, the quality of players that they've got, obviously they came within a Nathan Cleary of winning a comp last year, so that's pretty harsh. But to drop off again this year, miss the finals altogether. Roo, you put it pretty well, I think, when he said we're going to be there, and then they get hammered 2 weeks in a row, get nowhere near, you know, making the finals. You know, the Broncos are one of those teams that are, and always should be, one of the best teams in the comp, so I can understand why they maybe look to move him on. I don't think any of us probably saw it coming as quickly and in the manner that it did, but yeah, you got to produce results if you're the coach of the Brisbane Broncos.
I will say just on top of that as well, and I get it, you need better results with the Broncos, and Kemby will be able to speak about it as good as anyone, but like, we're talking almost 20 years ago, the 06 Premiership, like, the Titans didn't exist at the time. The Dolphins didn't exist at the time. Like, things have changed a little bit around. You don't have to, if you want to live in Brisbane and get the climate and be at the Power Club, you don't have to be at Brisbane. You can go 45 minutes up the road or down the road and you're still in a similar area. Like, I don't think the climate is the exact same as it was, but you obviously can be keen on your thoughts.
I respect and with all due respect, I respect the Broncos for not thinking like that, though. I think the Broncos it's not good enough to be reasonably good. They're trying to win comps. I'm not sure if they can do it with Kevy. I think that the response he got out of the players in the last 2 weeks, I think that kind of says it all.
To that point, in regards to, like, there's more teams in Queensland, all that matters is you look at the actual roster they've got right now. Because I think that it's a bit of a myth, like, if you have a big junior base, therefore you must be dominant, because we've seen Roosters, smallest junior base, dominant last 20 years. Melbourne Storm, no junior base, dominant last 20 years. I think so. You just got to look at the rosters that the Broncos have had over the last few years, and that roster, at the very least, hasn't been that's been a finals roster. I think I would have given him the start of the year for sure. The problem is we don't know what came back in that review.
For sure,
that's the key there, because Donaghy had come out and said, all right, you know, we're backing him in or whatever. Whatever the review was. Now, some people go, oh, it was a setup or whatever, but I don't know why Donaghy would 4 weeks ago come out and say he's our man if he's already setting up Kevy Walters to get brushed. He's just making himself look bad. So I personally would have given Kevy probably till round 10 next year. I mean, that's where I've been standing actually for nearly, what do you reckon, 8 weeks now? Maybe even 9, 10 weeks. However, it's a ruthless decision that I can understand the thought process. And I think the thought process is this. They have probably sat there and gone, we'll give Kevy till probably mid-year next year. But at the same time, if we have already that plan in place, we need to start looking at what we'll do if that does eventuate. So they've laid the foundation for... Because, like, if you're running a business, you need all different contingencies to where the business goes. If we kill it, we keep Kevy, we're all good. If we don't kill it, we don't want to be left with our pants down mid-year and know where we need to know where we're going. So I think they've laid the foundation for both options happening. Then I think what's happened is the review has happened and they've gone, oh wow, like we're in a bit of a pickle here, and some of the feedback is pretty alarming. And they've gone, look, we've got two options here. We've got a review here that's pretty alarming. Again, we don't know what was said, but this is just me. All of us kind of assume the same thing.
Yep.
That's a logical answer. And they've gone, all right, we've got two options here. We can look at this evidence and go, brush it aside and give Kevy 10 weeks, but then that's another whole season that's just a complete write-off. Or we can make a really ruthless decision now and begin the process. Like we'll at least get a whole preseason with a new coach. And so, although I personally would have given Kevy until, because like it really depends where you land. The fact that he made a grand final is you can focus on that, or you can focus on one final series in 4 years. Like I think both answers are relatively reasonable. Like if you fall in the camp of like, mate, it's one final series in 4 years, that's not good enough with the roster they've got. Because you go back 2 years ago, they were in the top four, and they like one of the most historic falls out of the top four, out of the top eight, we'd ever seen. So you could, if you look at that and go, nah, he's not the man for the job, that's understandable. But also if you go, hang on a sec, like he took this team from a wooden spoon all the way to a grand final in 3 years, that's also a reasonable look at it. But look, I think that the Broncos have made a ruthless decision. Now, I think that it's Dave Donohue's first like real big call, but I think that board that is currently now gone through like 4 or 5 different coaches and has to work like, geez, like this surely this is the last hurrah that they get in regards to like if this doesn't work out, some big questions need to be asked about the higher ups of the Broncos. Is
there the potential, and Madge has been the name that's been thrown out, I think he is the best guy that's available there. Is it a possibility that Madge has sort of said to them, if I'm going to do this and take over, I need to let New South Wales know ASAP, we need to make a move?
Well, I think it's the opposite. I think Broncos would probably take him like that. I think it's more New South Wales going, mate, like, you know what I mean? I reckon Broncos would move quickly. I think it's probably Madge that's weighing up his options going, do I really want to, he'd be doing all his research. Is this a club I want to be at? Is it dramas? Is it a split board? Is it whatever?
And as you said, Kempy, like, Peter Pressure's got to go on the board as well, who there was the decision to, like, it was obviously probably mutual or whatever with Ben Eichen 12 months ago, but that was enormous at the time.
The reports weren't. The reports were that him and Kevy couldn't.
Yeah, so they
backed Kevy.
Exactly.
Reportedly.
They backed Kevy reportedly. Then they extended him 6 months ago, his contract. Like, that's massive.
Yeah. Like, I think that at some point this board has to take responsibility for where the club is at. Like, you can sack as many coaches as you want, but at the end of the day, like, you're the ones hiring and firing. So I'm devastated for Kevy, obviously. Like, he's a club legend. No one loves a club more than him. Now, he's come out and told Gordy Tallis that he feels fine with the decision. He feels that, this is what Gordy has said anyway, that he feels that Kevin feels that he wasn't supported, didn't get as much support as he felt he needed, but he's happy with, he's comfortable with it, which I guess it's good to hear that he's comfortable with it. But I think, look, in regards to who it should be next, I think Michael Maguire is the only candidate. I think that, people have tossed up Barrett, Demetrio, Hannay. I think the mistake the Broncos have made over the last few years is hiring rookie coaches. I think they need a coach with runs on the board. And you guys know, I haven't always been the biggest fan of Madge, but geez, I've come around to him. I think the biggest eye-opener for me with Madge was 2 things. Seeing how far, unfortunately, the Tigers have fallen, but also speaking to some of the boys in the Blues camp by how much it seems like he has just improved as a coach over the last few years. And even Madge has come out and said he learnt so much at the West Tigers. And I just think a guy like Madge got the West Tigers to 9th. Jeez, imagine what he could do with that Broncos system and backing and resources.
I got to tell you, if I'm Madge, I don't know if it'd be the job for me, eh? And obviously Madge is just
the coach of the Brisbane Broncos, and you've got full power. That's an incredible.
Do you have full power?
He would. They're desperate for him. He has so much leverage right now in negotiations. It's insane.
Oh, yeah. In negotiations he does, but when he gets there, does he have full power?
That would be part of the negotiations. He would be saying, I'm not coming unless I get this, this, and this, and this.
I don't know. If they're... And, I agree with the decision, but they're willing to move on off a club legend after a year of making a grand final. I don't know. If I'm Madge, just in the position he's in with New South Wales, I think Madge's victory has brought him 3 years as coach of New South Wales. I'd be hesitant to walk away from that.
Man, coaching a club as big as the Brisbane does not come along very often.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. But I think that Madge is a guy that when it's not going well for him, people will jump on his back. So, like, the change in opinions on Madge in the last 12 months has been fucking unbelievable. I just think if it...
That's because of results, though.
100% it is, yeah. There's no denying that. But I just think if it doesn't go overly well in Brisbane, he'll be a New South Welshman as the coach of the Broncos, and they'll fucking come for him.
He's already been through that at the Tigers fucking dramatically.
Okay, times it like 1,000 at the Broncos, though.
It was pretty bad at the time. I don't know. Like, the Tigers situation was fucking
like the biggest
hectic.
Brand in the country.
Yeah, I think he is mentally prepared for all of that, but fair enough.
Tough gig to walk into, I reckon. I agree with that, Roo. Being the Blues coach and the Broncos coach, that already creates a bit of tension. I feel like it'd be weird to coach the Broncos too, because they've got a very vocal old boys network. Not saying yourself, Kevin, but there's like, the pressure's on. Like if things aren't going well, there's a lot of very vocal people who kind of seem to call out the coach, and they didn't play for the club as well. That adds another layer into it, that they've kind of haven't always rallied around people that are from outside the Broncos in that position. It'd be tough, but
that's like any big organisation. That's a guarantee. Like he's already been the Rabbitohs coach. Like I think the idea that like the bigger the organisation gets, of course there's going to be more pressure, but like that's just. If you want to be at the big dog clubs, that's what you do.
Yeah, I think Madge would be unbelievable for them. They've just clearly got a pretty soft underbelly at the moment for the Brisbane Broncos. Cultural issues, that sort of things. And who better than probably the most steely-nosed coach in rugby league, in Madge Maguire, who we know is obviously hard to play under, not as a bloke, just high standard, high work ethic, hard pre-seasons, all these sorts of things. Mate, that sounds exactly what the Brisbane Broncos need. And he said his resume the last couple of years between the Kiwis and the Blues, they're unbelievable. I think he'll be the perfect man for the job. Whether he wants it or not, I don't know. But he'd be fantastic for him. If he were to take it, are we thinking that he would do the Blues as well or not?
No, I don't think so. Just what Rue was alluding to, it's a huge club with a lot of pressure. Like, I just don't think they would.
Couldn't do both.
They just wouldn't do that.
We spoke about it when they were putting a successor and putting a new Blues coach in. I hate the idea of coaching the NRL and coaching an Origin team. Like, Origin is such an enormous beast nowadays. You can't have divided focuses. It's one or the other. Right. So I think
that in regards to the point of being a New South Wales coach of the Broncos, like, if you were still coaching, like that's when the noise would be too loud. Like, it'd be way too loud. Me personally, like I get where you're coming from in regards to like whether he would or he wouldn't, and I think, mate, if putting my mind in the head of someone that is almost like an extreme performer, he would love nothing more than to take on the biggest challenge in rugby league, which is leading the Brisbane Broncos to a premiership now.
I agree with that. Yep.
Like he would love the pressure, love the environment. What do you got there, Matty?
Oh no, I was just going to completely agree. I actually think that I'm the opposite. I think it's a no-brainer for him. I think this is what he wants. He wants to coach a club, and if he's going to coach any club, who better than the Broncos? They're the biggest club in the NRL. He's already coached South. He's also part-time at the Blues, so he's not technically full-time there. So.
Could you imagine if that's how he got out of it, by going, you didn't hire me full-time? I'm just a casual. I'm on casual wages.
It's weird. I don't know what other Blues fans think, but I'm just like, go for it. That's what you want to do.
Man, when I put out, like, I'm still like reeling from Kevy getting the sack. Like, it definitely has upset me. However, when I put that aside, it excites me seeing Mike Maguire. Like, I think that, like, some people go, everyone's changed his tune. I'm not saying you saying this. Everyone's changed his tune. Yeah, because he's been killing it. Like, more information has come in, and I've gone, oh shit. Like, for example, the 9th at the Tigers, we were all off, not all off him, but we're all going, oh geez, Madge, he's only coming 9th and he could be better. But clearly we didn't understand, really where the club was at. The club, he was hanging them, like dragging them into the 9th position. And then he goes obviously away to the Kiwis, kills it. And then he goes and wins Origin after losing game 1, like winning up in Suncorp. I just think as a really high performer, if he, like, out of all the clubs to pick, he'd actually probably prefer the bigger clubs. Like, I think he would love the challenge. As I said, I also think from a Broncos perspective, there's no one more qualified outside of, like, obviously, you got Bennett, Bellyache. Something also about the New South Wales thing that I don't understand. Our halfback is New South Welshman. Craig Bellamy is New South Wales. We went after him. Like, I don't get that argument. Like, it feels like it's just popped up out of nowhere when, if Craig Bellamy was available, would anyone give a shit that he's a New South Welshman? No one would.
I just think the fact that he's, like, right now the New South Wales coach and they just won and all that sort of stuff, there's probably just a bit more cachet.
Freshness.
Yeah, a bit more.
I think it definitely matters.
Top of mind awareness about the New South Wales thing.
Like, if Bellyache was free right now, I would be shocked if anyone said anything.
I also think, though, Bellamy has got 1,000 more runs on the board. Like, I agree with you. Madge has turned a lot of opinions in the last 12 months, but he hasn't done it in a 26-week season. That's my big concern. What was the number one thing about Madge when he left South? He's too intense. He's too hard to handle over a long period of time.
But clearly that opinion was kind of wrong, because we were thinking he's too intense over a long period of time with the West Tigers, but clearly he wasn't. He was doing the best possible with that roster.
You don't need to sign him for 5 years. You can sign him to 2 years. Maybe he does have a time span. Like maybe he can only come to a club for 2 years because he's so hard-nosed. Maybe you learn from that. Maybe Madge has learned from that.
Well, he's said that he has learned a lot from that, from the West Tigers or whatever. Like, I just think that, like, any opinion that you drew from his time at West Tigers, it's because of where the club has ended up. It's almost like, well, it's not really a valid opinion because we were judging it on expectations that weren't reasonable. I think that, like, put it this way, like the roster that he had, it's not even as good as the current roster you've got now, in my opinion, on paper. But time will tell. I do get where you're coming from if you're saying people are like comparing him to like a super coach like Bellamy or Wayne Bennett, like for sure, like not at all. I think, from my personal opinion, I'm comparing him to what is out there right now, like what is available.
Just fair. Yep.
Like I'm not like, mate, if him and Bellyache aren't even in the fucking same stratosphere.
Bellyache wins a comp on Sunday and he's ticked that box off, does he look for a new challenge potentially?
Love
don't do that, Rue. Storm fans.
No, but he re-signs on a 1-year contract every single season. He's always about to leave. He's always about to throw it out. I mean,
I think he's got a 5-year deal, and basically, if he doesn't coach, he becomes head of football at the club. I don't think Bellyache would ever coach against the Storm. I couldn't see it. Could you?
Would have said the same about the Wayne Bennett 20 years ago, though.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, maybe not. He got forced out of the Broncos, though. Can you see Bellyache?
I don't know.
I'm not saying I think it's going to happen. I just think it's an interest. Like, the only person that I think could possibly become available is Craig Bellamy. That would be a better option.
It could happen. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Everyone's got
He's
their
coached there before.
I think Bellyache will retire a one. I think that club is so built on, loyalty and all that kind of stuff. I'd be shocked if he went to another club. What do you reckon, Matty? You reckon he'd go?
I would never rule anything out in rugby league.
Yeah.
Like, my initial thoughts...
I mean, of course, like, fuck, like, sure. Like, we're not talking about, like, it's impossible to happen. I mean, like, what is the likelihood of it happening?
The likelihood of it happening is, I would say it's unlikely. But I'm not, like, throwing a blanket over it. I'm just saying that, like, things happen that are insane. Things happen that are insane every fucking week in rugby league. So
I think it's very, very unlikely. I'd be very surprised.
Rue's point about Wayne Bennett, I think, is a great one, because there was once upon a time you go, nah, he'll only ever coach the Broncos, wouldn't coach against them.
At the end of the 2006 grand final, Wayne was never leaving. There's not a fucking hope in hell he was going to leave after that.
Yeah. I think that, like, with Bellyache, he's been there so long now that I just would be very surprised.
I think highly unlikely, but they might come and give him an unknockbackable deal.
And also, like Bennett had done secret meetings with the Roosters. Like, I don't think Bellyache's done any secret meetings with anyone.
They're secret, so who knows?
I think there was, I think to the wider audience, for sure, I agree with you. Like, everyone thought, no way, Bennett is the Broncos. And you could argue still to this day he is. But he had shown, like, he had gone and met the Roosters and they had that whole handshake deal. It got out to the media, and then Politis was pissed off at him, and then I think the Broncos found out about it. So, yeah. And I mean, look, maybe it could happen, but I think it's highly unlikely. I think the other thing, like, just looking, I think the Broncos are in a really interesting spot. Like, how much longer do you reckon Adam Reynolds plays for? Yeah, I mean, a year. I think this will probably be his last year now.
That's the other thing that I'd be looking at if I was Madge too. It's going to be interesting when he departs, how they go.
Mate, you'd have to have this balls the size of fucking universe. If you knock back a Broncos gig that was offered and you had all the leverage, holy. That's
if Madge was to, and just hypothetical, don't fucking shit down my throat. If not you, them. If Madge was to come out here today and say, I'm going to say it's the Blues coach, who would you then want? Who would you then?
Oh, mate, you're up shit creek, and that's why I think also I don't think Broncos. I don't think they sack Kevy unless there's been
exactly right.
something fucking sorted. Like, that'd be insane, especially when you've got a whole off season.
I'll tell you what, Madge was at the New South Wales Cup grand final yesterday, and just watching him walk around the room, how fucking popular and respected he is in that room. Like, if he would have walked around that room 2 years ago, I'm not sure how many people talk to him.
It's an incredible story, and that's why I I think we were all judging the West Tigers situation off all the headlines we were reading and everything getting leaked and then where we expected them to be rather than, but it's just an incredible journey about, sticking to your guns and, obviously also developing as a coach. But yeah, Kiwis, record win. And he goes up to Suncorp, wins game 3. Like, that is a crazy run.
Yeah. I know you said before you don't buy into it. I think what Hammy said before, I just think if he goes up there and I reckon those old boys will come for a New South Welshman 100 miles a fucking hour if he's the guy after Kevy. And I get it, whatever, you're going to take a high pressure job, that's going to come with it. I just look at Madge and go, fuck, you're in a pretty good spot at the moment with the New South Wales Blues. You get Latrell back, Turbo back, Cleary back next year.
Unfortunately, I think, I agree with it. There'll be pressure. I'm not saying that doesn't exist in regards to the New South Wales thing. It does exist, but unfortunately, I think with the old boys, it's Kevy got put in the job. It didn't work out. What are we going to keep just hammering? You know what I mean? We're just going to keep this cycle going.
I agree with you.
But I think the wider,
that's what they will do.
No, but what I'm saying is I think the wider audience that can help the momentum, whether it's take it away or give it, will take that momentum away by going, guys, this we've done this song and dance before, hasn't worked out, but it's going to be interesting.
One name we haven't discussed as a potential coach, and it's come up a lot in the comments, is Denon Kemp. I know you've got your multi-million-dollar coffee empire and beer empire podcast. Is it a role that you'd consider taking on?
Mate, Madge, give us a call. I'll be assistant. I'll
tell you what, the domino effect is obviously the New South Wales coaching job.
I feel like this is almost. It seems like everything you read, it's almost like a done deal. I feel like a bit disappointed for New South Wales.
Yeah.
Just at the start of something great, and then just boom.
In saying that, as a New South Welshman, if our coach wants to go coach the Broncos instead, off you go. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, when we're on the edge of something special here, if you want to go coach the Broncos. Do you mean that by you're not passionate? Like if you're not passionate about doing if you're not passionate about being the Blues coach, go.
Timmy?
I'd be devastated.
I'm devastated. Yeah. But if you're not passionate about coaching this side, because that's what got us over the line this year is passion.
Two things can be true. You can be passionate about coaching the Blues, but also see a big opportunity that has arisen. Because for example, it's such a fickle game, and also you only coach 3 games a year. And Madge is a full-time coach. But I see what you're saying. If you want the most passionate bloke in the position as possible.
That's why we won this year, because he came with that passion and energy.
Yeah. It's crazy. I can't the knock-on effect of this decision is actually insane.
And could you imagine the next guy to coach New South Wales? The amount of pressure you're going to be under there.
Craziness. Let us know in the comments section. What do you reckon? Should Madge take it? Shouldn't he take it? Do you agree with Rue that maybe he shouldn't take it? He's got a good thing at the Blues. Or do you feel like it's too big an opportunity to pass? Or is there someone else that you think should take the job? Alrighty, Kalyn Ponga is now available for Australian selection. Not much to talk about here. I think this is just an age-old story of communication. This should have been handled much better. I think that his father, his manager, probably should have communicated with the Knights, and the Knights should have communicated with him better. Or everyone on that team, his management and the Knights as well, could have handled this better. Because KP, he's paid to play footy really well and then obviously do his media, whatever the contract suggests. He's not paid to handle his own PR. And so that's where I feel like the Knights and his management could have been a little bit better and communicated. This could have been all avoided.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. It's all just community. When the post originally came out and I read it, I jumped on my podcast and I just assumed he would have spoken to Mal. I just assumed that conversation would have happened. And it's all just comes down to communication.
So what was the exact communication? Did Kalyn Ponga sit down, I assume, with the Newcastle Knights and say that he didn't want to play for the Kangaroos this year?
So I think my understanding and the reports are that Kalyn Ponga's management said to the Knights, he doesn't want to be available. He wants to focus on the Knights. Can you put out a statement? Then internally, the Knights relayed that to the higher-ups. And before the higher-ups could sort it, the statement had already been released by the Knights. That's my understanding of what has happened.
Yeah, well, crazy what a week can do, because this time last week I said he'd be my Kangaroos fullback. But he must have said to the club and said, I'm happy to focus on the Knights and not play in a national match if unavailable. If that's the case, I'd be very reluctant to pick him. You just said before about Madge and the Blues and wanting to be there and having the passion. I'm you've got Dylan Edwards would kill to be the Kangaroos fullback at the end of this year. And if Kalyn Ponga's like, I don't really care, or, well, not even I don't care, he said from what we know, he didn't want to play for them. I'm picking the bloke who would die to be playing for that jersey. And I'm not putting a line through Kalyn Ponga as a selection, but for this year, I want the bloke who wants to be there the most.
Yeah, I think he'll. If there was any chance of him being the starting fullback, I think that is probably just put a line through it. I'd be very shocked if Mal, like, what message does that send to the rest of the team? Unless there is more that we don't know about this, like, you know what I mean? Like, unless there's more. But I agree with you, mate. I had KP there. However, now with this, I'd be happy to bring KP into the squad, and my goal would be to try to show KP like how great this is and how, you know, just show him what it's like to be in that environment. But yeah, I would be going.
I don't think you should have to be able to show someone that playing, like, because KP hasn't played for Australia, right?
No. He played under 20s in the 90s.
Yeah, which is what perplexes me even more, because I'm like, he's never done it. Surely it's a dream, but I can't believe it. I don't think you should need to have to show it off and prove to him how good it is to play for Australia. Like, isn't it everyone's dream?
Yeah.
Like young footballers.
No, I see what you're saying. I guess, you know, I just always look at it as like everyone's different, I guess. Everyone expresses themselves differently. Me personally, I agree with you. Like, I think that you should absolutely want to play for the country that, you know, has given you everything. But I can also understand someone saying, look, let's just get him in here and show, like, for example, how often in life have you had a certain opinion and then you get taught the history of something and your opinion can change? And maybe that is a case for KP where maybe he just, I don't know, needs that. I don't know if that's the correct answer. I'm just saying that's a possibility.
And maybe he does, but in the meantime, I'm picking Dylan Edwards or James Tedesco.
I am too. 100% agree. I'm always just open to, like, not ascribing that he just, like, fully didn't want to, and maybe he's just didn't have the right thought process in his mind. You know what I mean? Maybe in his head he did want to play for Australia, but he felt guilty about the last 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's always can be quite complicated. But with the way it's all handed, I'd be picking Edwards or Tedesco.
Yeah, I'll be doing the same. I respect KP for the decision he's made. If that's going to be his focus, trying to win a comp at Newcastle, I can respect that. But he has made his bed there, and I wouldn't be picking him for the Kangaroos. Yeah,
I think I agree with you there. But I'd take his look if he wants to preserve himself, because he's missed a lot of footy for the Knights, and there's a lot of players.
Context matters. Like he literally nearly retired.
Correct. And I just wonder as well. You know, we were talking in the green room earlier. Is there a bit too much footy happening? Like, you know, if you play the full season, it's essentially 30 weeks. You add, you know, internationals, another month of footy onto the end of that at the moment. You know, do we need them every single year? I understand you're trying to grow the game and stuff. There's a World Cup next year. I understand, you know, having it there and having a place for international footy. But on top of everything else that they've already gone through this whole year, I can understand if there's a few players who go, look, I want to get the body right for next year. I've missed a lot of footy for my club this year, the year before as well. I don't think it's as cut and dry as just like, I don't care if I play for Australia. If some of these guys are pulling out, I think there's actually a legitimate reason behind getting themselves right so that they can, you know, extend their own careers. You know what I mean?
Like, totally agree with everything you just said. I think that what's happening right now is Vland is trying to set up, like, the Pacific Games so that eventually in 3 years' time the Pacific Games is bigger.
Yep.
And then in 3 or 5 years we have 20 teams. He reduces the season to 20 games because that's he's come out and said that. He wants to reduce it to 20 games.
Yep.
Then the Pacific Championships becomes a big deal as well. And, like, so it's like, you know, the chicken before the egg the cart before the horse. I think he's trying to get it to work whilst keeping the networks happy at the same time.
Yep. I like that plan. It's great. There will be a bit of, a bit of a toll on players in the meantime while we get to that point, while the season essentially becomes 35 weeks, which is like crazy. It's the most physical sport in the world. You want to play,
insane.
To play like 2/3 of the year.
And that's it. Like, I don't have a knock on Ponga himself or his decision. Like, it is a long season. I've been very vocal about that, saying it probably should be shorter, and especially with international, it's a long year. If he wants to focus on the Knights and bring success there, I'm like, good on him. Like, I love that. But it just would impact my decision making if I'm Mal Meninga.
Yeah, I think most reasonable people can totally respect his decision as an individual. You can also have a preference as an Australian as to who you want selected. Like, there's, you know, two things can coexist. But the length of the season is way too long. It is way too long. So, anyway.
Do we think there's any chance that KP looked around the room and just thought, Edwards has been the best fullback the last few years. He's, you know, won premierships. He's a Clive Churchill medalist. Teddy is the incumbent captain. I wonder if any part of KP just thought, I probably won't be there anyway.
I mean, then you wouldn't put out a statement, though, would you? If you didn't think you're getting picked.
But was this? I wonder if the statement was more about just trying to put some confidence in Knights fans.
Yeah, maybe. As I said, like I was saying earlier, like things can be. There can be so many things we don't know. Like, there could be such a more complicated situation going on in KP's life that we just don't know about. Like, does anyone watch him play in the Queensland jersey and say he's not passionate? Like, so he cares about rep footy. It's just
I've met Kalyn once. He is a very different guy to a lot of other footy players, which I love about Kalyn. Like it wouldn't surprise me if that potentially was the situation. Maybe.
Yeah. Like as I get older, I just get more aware that people just operate differently. And you may ascribe like, this is what I would do in that situation. Therefore, if he doesn't do it the way I do it, it's wrong. But sometimes it's just different. It's different. Also, maybe he is wrong. Like, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Alrighty, time for Big's Bag from Lewis Mack. 1990. What do we have to do about kickoffs? Any solutions to HIAs we are seeing from the kickoff collision? Email Matt at Bloke in a Bar to claim your $50 voucher, Lewis. And as I said, guys, for Beak's Bag, leave your comment in the comment section and we choose one each week. It's just a question about rugby league or whatever. We pick one each week, give you a $50 voucher. Okay. Look, I don't want it to be changed. I like the tradition of it. I think it's a gladiator sport. It's a warrior sport. However, I think it's an inevitability. I think that in the current climate and the way the world's going, we can't continue to have blokes getting completely knocked out of kickoffs. And it's just, I think it's just going to happen, unfortunately. Put it this way. In my mind, the way I weigh it up is this. Do I want rugby league to be as big as possible? Yes. Will this decision make the game bigger? Most likely. Therefore, am I willing to swallow my own enjoyment to make a decision to make the game bigger? Probably I am.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to change it. But I think after the optics of the last 2 weekends, I think it has to change. I don't know if it means, and I know people fucking hate these ideas, but I don't know if it means you start a game with a 20-metre tap.
Short drop.
I don't know if you start a game with you kick for touch from in front of your sticks, and wherever you find touch, that's where you tap it and go from. I don't know what they're going to do, but I cannot see the kickoff.
Do they just make it a short kickoff? As in, like, you've just pretty much, like, within that 20 metre, it's always a short kickoff, and you're always
honestly,
competing.
if it's always going to be a short kickoff, I think that's the death of the kickoff anyway. Realistically, for what we love about it.
I think I think we've got to pretty much accept that the kickoff's dead anyway. In regards to like the exciting part of it, I don't think we're going to get any more excitement out of it, even though I wish we could. Timmy?
Yeah, pretty much what you said, Kempy. I don't think they should change it. I don't want to see it changed, but I think they will. It's just, as you said, I think it's almost inevitable at some point that for years now, they've been cracking down on head knocks and, as you always keep saying, the optics of the game, and for parents out there wanting to get their kids into the game, and for future lawsuits against the game and protecting players, all these sorts of things. I hate it. I hope they don't change it, but I think they will at some point.
Yep, I think it's coming. Again, it's one of the most exciting, the first hit up of an Origin or a grand final. It's part of the theatre of the game.
Losing that. It's so iconic. It is the bread and butter of rugby league. And it's the first challenge to the opposition of like, are you ready? Are you willing to go where I'm willing to go?
Yep. And I hate to see that, but just the way that we've been going the last few years, protecting players, all that sort of stuff. We're at the point of the season, it's supposed to be the best product of the game. We've had 2 guys go off in the first tackle of the game. I think, if we had gone a full final series without that, I think we probably would have been play on. But I think the fact that it's happened twice in finals, I think that'll be enough to see some sort of change.
Mate, if it happens this weekend, you might be your last kick-off, you see.
Yeah.
They might change it mid-game.
The question is, of course, what do they replace it with? And that just becomes so key. I haven't thought enough about the options, but I'm just so intrigued as to if it does go, what comes in.
Do you like, I don't know, kick from halfway, but they start at the 20-metre mark?
I think you kick from under your sticks for touch, and then you start wherever you find touch is where you start your first set, maybe. It's ridiculous. Don't get me wrong. I'm just thinking, what's like off a kickoff, you normally return the ball to about the 10-metre line. Do you ever play the ball on the 10-metre line?
The only thing I can think of is just short kickoffs, because you kind of keep that.
And what you make a rule, how would you enforce that? You say you can't kick it more than
if it goes
15?
over the 20 metres or something, it's a penalty. Halfway.
Geez, you're going to get a lot of penalties to start a game, which is a huge advantage to the team receiving.
See, it just opens up another, like...
Could you just go...
You can have
like
every
a drop
kickoff,
kick
you're
as
going to
well?
have to challenge to work out who knocked it on, who...
Could you do a drop kick? Almost like...
Union. Short dropout.
Just a shot.
I think for the optics of that, they won't do that.
So it's like,
Go to Union. I think it's too close to Union.
Yeah.
So I just reckon you go, if you... Like, this is just off the top of my head, but just, a drop kick, you can short. If it goes past the 20 metres, it's a tap on the halfway line. I think that's the way you can kind of keep it looking similar without it being completely gone. A tap would be such a fucking letdown to start the game.
100% it would be.
Is there any world you reckon where they do it a bit like the NFL, where the kicker just takes it from halfway, but the defensive line is set up like,
And what, have to wait to time
it goes over the top. I guess then you take
Hard
out
to
that
time
30 metres that you'd have to play there, where you could do a short kickoff and stuff, but
I think-
at least it reduces the impact of the run up and the contact.
I think that I reckon, and this is just a pure guess, I think they'll just go short dropouts, like short drop kicks. And then
But even that changes the game so much that you're always going to receive the ball 30 or 40 metres out from your line instead of having to truck it out of your own end. I
think it's just what else? Like,
well, that's where I would lean towards more. You have a tap or something at least down the other end. So at least if you want to start strong defensively, your line speed can be good at their end, and you can.
Sucks, man. It sucks.
Yeah, like regardless, like for me, the short dropout thing, I think that'd be boring as shit too. I'd hate that.
I already hate the rule that they changed.
100%.
These contested dropouts are terrible. They look so gross. They're so boring. No one enjoys them.
Changes things. So imagine, we've got an Origin or a grand final and someone's going to take a tap or something to start. Usually you've got all the team, they're lined up like, here we go, and then they
down?
Yeah, they count down, and then it's just like some guy kicking the ball into touch under his own post. It's like,
Yuck.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Anyway, leave a comment for Beak's Bag. Don't forget, guys, KO is your go-to place for rugby league content ahead of the grand finals this week. Watch replays, highlights, interviews, and feature pizzas ahead of the big game, and plenty of other content, KO, as well. And also, don't forget, guys, tonight, 6 o'clock, Aussie Footy Shorts and Bloke are dropping brand new designs. Footy Shorts with pockets, 6 p.m. on the Aussie Footy Shorts website. Go to their Instagram and you'll be able to see it in the link there. Alrighty, time for Storm to defeat the Roosters 48-18. And I tell you what, the first 10 minutes, I'm sitting there going, okay, the Roosters have come to play. This is exactly what I was expecting. High tempo, big bodies through the middle, just rolling them down the park. And then it got to about the 10-minute mark, and you could almost feel the Storm going, is that all you got? That's genuine. Like the Storm withstood the barrage, withstood the first 10 minutes. And from that point on, the Roosters came out in the second half and showed a little bit of fight. Tedesco passing to Talon May, a little bit of fight. But I felt like the Storm really, really controlled it. And what I found is so impressive about the Storm performance was just how controlled they are. Like their ability in defence to control momentum and pace and not panic, and everyone's working together and their systems. It's a beauty to behold. I thought the Storm were absolutely phenomenal. Aside from maybe a 10 to 15 minute little dip, they looked clinical. They looked super dangerous in attack. And unfortunately for the Roosters, they just didn't have the firepower that I thought that they should have. And I thought that I was quite surprised that they only lasted about 10 minutes. I thought at least for the first 20 to 30 minutes, they would show that they would hang with the Storm. They didn't. Incredible performance from the Storm. Guru, what do you think, mate?
Yeah, Storm, very impressive in this one. As you said, mate, the Roosters, they came out firing. I think, obviously there was the sin bin on the opening play. The Roosters, I think they got 3 penalties in the opening 3 or 4 minutes that got them down there.
It was like in the first set. Yeah,
it's pretty much on that entire drive. They got 3 penalties, which they converted at the end, as they should. But, mate, after that, as you said, the Storm just felt like they were in control of the entire game. Crazy. Like, they're in, and once again, the Roosters, on paper, they are just unbelievable. Like, name me a side ever that your Australian front row can get knocked out on the first play, and I go, they've got enough guys.
Like, we'll bring on a guy that was pretty much on the fringe of Origin.
Yeah.
and also played Origin.
Or bring on Spencer Leniu, who was the most dominant forward in Origin.
Yeah.
You're not name Angus Crichton, who's also on your team. It's an incredible squad, but they just... I've been saying it for a few weeks. They're just not playing anywhere near the level that they should be.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go on the Roosters first. Actually, we'll get your thought process and then we'll go.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought going into the game that the Roosters would put up a great fight, and I thought it was off the back of just having, at least on paper, better middles. And my logic against, nullifying the Storm is if you can win the middle, you reduce the impact of Harry Grant and this superstar spine. Because as we know, with a gun, if your fullback's been beaten, there's not a lot your spine can do, particularly your number 9. But they were just dominated through the middle the entire game. And they couldn't stop them. Like every time, they just rolled through the middle the entire time. And I just thought the Roosters had the power game to at least compete with them through the middle and potentially win the battle through the middle. They weren't even close. And it comes back, I think, to looking at it. Like the Storm's pack on paper, probably taking Grant out as a number 9, but the actual go forward, it's okay. But they've been unbelievable all season. And it just comes back to a coaching masterclass from Craig Bellamy. And these two sides, I don't know if this is wrapping Bellamy or putting the boot into Robbo a little bit, but the Storm were just a far better coach side. And everything they did was meticulous. Every player knows their roles perfectly. They were the better coach side.
Well, we'll get to that point now. We'll get your thoughts quickly.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know that the Roosters, hit the lead at the start of the game, but I do think, obviously, it was the 13 on 12. I don't think the Storm ever looked panicked or worried. They've just built beautifully all the way through the point of the season. They're peaking at the right time, and their spine was just unstoppable. The fact that, you got Jerome Hughes scoring a hat-trick, Cam Munster got a double. They just looked so much further ahead of the Chookies, and I think quite rightly they got favourites for the grand final. But yeah, I thought they were very, very good.
Yeah, so on that point, it's hard to say the Roosters have had a disappointing year, considering injuries or whatever. But unfortunately, this result isn't in a vacuum. And I think Trent Robinson is under pressure heading into next year.
Put it this way, like I say, the Storm look like a better coach side. Of course they were. They won 48-18, like it's the easiest comment of all time. However, and I know it's hypothetical, I think if Craig Bellamy is coaching that Roosters roster, there's not a chance that scores 48-18. I think it's a completely different story. I think the coaching, and you can see what he's done with his 4-pack in particular, it's better.
Yeah, and so, as I said, you can't say it's a failure of a year. Getting to a prelim, especially with those 2 key injuries, they finished in the top 4. And I've been super high praise of Robbo, the fact that he was able to turn things around and get in the top 4 and have two cracks at the finals. However, it's not in a vacuum. Like, they go up against these top-tier sides and they just cannot, for some reason, get in. It's not just like, put it this way, if they go down there and they lose 24-16, I go, yeah, okay.
Sweet.
48-18 in a prelim. I understand they lost Collins. I get all that, but it's how many years now? And I don't think that heading into this year, like, Robbo's under pressure to lose his job at all. Like, not at all. However, I do think the question now begins is, like, Robbo needs to take the next step. I really think that since the back-to-back premierships, changes need to be made so that they can get big wins against the top-tier sides. It's almost a little bit similar, obviously to a higher degree. Sharks heading into this year, what was the question? Can you beat a top 8 side? That was the yarn everyone talked about. I think heading into next year, the question for the Roosters is can you beat Melbourne Storm or Penrith? And so I do believe that Robbo is not heading into next year under pressure with his job, but he is heading into next year under pressure for, like the question beginning to be asked if he can't beat the big dog sides.
I completely agree, and I think next year's going to be a tough one for the Roosters. Like, losing JWH.
I'm concerned. Yeah.
Mate, they're going to be without Sam Walker for half the season. Yeah. Brandon Smith, they're going to have to find 2 new centres. No one's a bigger fan of Billy Smith than me, but how do you know he's going to play more than half the season? Then you're going to, they've got a lot of spots to fill in that side and a lot of key spots as well. I'm really concerned, and your JWH leaving, I think they're a completely different side without him, and he might not have all the stats and everything, but just as a leader in that side, he's going to be a massive loss.
Yeah. It's I'm actually heading into next year. Like, Roosters are definitely nowhere near like a favourite for me. Nope. Losing the players they're losing, and it's just such a baffling thing because we know Robbo can win premierships. Like, we know he can. He's one of the better coaches in the competition. However, I don't know what it is, but it's like they get up against the top tier sides and, as I said, I'd understand if it was a 10-point loss, but that is 48 points put on you. And a lot of those tries were straight through the middle. There's pressure on Robbo heading into next year. In my opinion.
This is where, call it a bit of hindsight or however you want to put it, but the last few years they have made the finals, which has been good enough. did anyone think they were going to win a comp over the last few years, realistically?
Well, that's it. Like with this one, they made a preliminary final, and it's a pass mark for the year.
Yeah.
But as you said, they weren't close to winning the comp,
They were-
as we saw.
Yeah, and, as you say, the big thing is, can you beat, the Storm and the Panthers? The big thing is, can you beat Bellamy and Ivan Cleary for me? The only time they've managed to take that next step and win comps is when they fucking brought the number one Craig Bellamy guy to their club.
Yeah.
Cooper Cronk.
And I don't think, I'm not judging Trent Robinson on what I would judge normal coaching with. There was a period there where I considered Trent Robinson one of the great coaches. So I'm judging him on the level of, surely, every time the Roosters play Melbourne and Penrith Panthers, it should be a really close clash. And it just never is.
Never is. No. And I mean, they've made the finals every year, but, they haven't played a prelim in 5 years.
I know. Mate, midway through this year, I think it was this year when they were struggling a little bit, I was like, I think Robbo's under pressure. Then he turns things around. They get in the top 4. And the tough thing is, you always have to bring this up because it is 100% a fact. It's not an excuse. But the injuries over the last 5 years for this club have been unbelievable, unbelievably unlucky. And put it this way, if they went down their full strength and lost like that without the injuries, I'd be saying he's under pressure for the gig, for the role. It's the fact that those injuries happened in finals where I go, not under pressure for the role, but under pressure for questions beginning to be asked. Can this Roosters side beat the top tier sides?
I don't think they would have got beat 48-18, but I still don't. I still don't think they would have put up a huge fight against Melbourne, even with their players.
Well, history would suggest they don't.
History suggests they don't.
They played them essentially full strength. Could you get the teams up for the last time they played them in club during the year, and they lost quite substantially?
Yeah, and you look at the names there, losing Collins straight off the bat. That was brutal. That sucked. JWH, he's starting there. Victor Radley, you've got your starting lock. Of course, he chopped and changed. I know Connor Watson was playing there, but you lose Cheese. He's important to go for, but Connor Watson, he's a star in his own right. Played Origin this year. Angus Crichton, Tilly Tupanua. It's still a terrific pack. The way they were dominated, I tell you, Sam Walker doesn't impact this game. Not enough to go anywhere close to changing the result. Maybe short kicking game at opportunities, but the middles were so heavily dominated, Sammy doesn't impact much, in my opinion.
And your short kicking game is a good point. It's the long kicking game. They're just lacking at the moment.
I mean, in my notes, all right, their kicking game is a true problem. I'd go as far to say there's an argument to be made. If they brought in a half that was a really good kicker, it might actually solve a lot of their problems. Because when they're getting dominated, they don't have the kicker to get them out of trouble.
Yep. 100%.
Some of the kicks they were putting in, they would be going what do you reckon, 30 metres? They were getting caught, and all wingers were back.
That's it. The best kickers in the game, Cleary, DC, particularly that long game, when they're down and out and struggling, they can kick, not the Penrith are down that often, but even in Origin levels, they can keep their side in the game with just a good long kicking game. The Roosters they just don't have it, do they?
Yeah, and I always felt like the Roosters forward pack can compensate for that, and they can go, well, look, you know what, we'll make an extra 3 or 4 metres a set, therefore, puts us on the front foot, but. Yeah, I just think that what do you got there, Matty?
Yeah, there was very minor injuries, but they were pretty much the last time they played Storm and the last time they played Penrith, they were pretty much full strength.
So,
for example, in the Penrith game, I can't really say anyone. I think they would have been.
Just read the roster out.
So against Penrith, it was Teddy, Tupou, Suoli'i, Manu, Young, Kiri Walker, Hargraves, Cheese, May, Butcher, Satili, Radley, and Crichton was on the bench. So
and they lost what?
And they lost 22-16 to...
Which is decent. Oh, you cop that.
And then the last time they played Storm, they were Teddy, Tupou, Suoli'i, Tupanua, so they were missing Manu, Young, Kiri Walker, Terrell May, Cheese, White, Crichton, Radley, Watson, Collins, and Lenu on the bench with Sanders Smith and that Butcher.
Tell you who else, Stili Tupanua is going to be a huge loss for this side too because he's missed to fix it in so many spots.
I thought, and Suoli'i, I thought was outstanding as well the other night. Look, I just think this long without making a grand final with that roster, for sure. I think that. Put it this way, the injuries are what's staying the headlines, in my opinion. If those injuries don't happen, I think people are sitting there going... The problem is because we've just read out those team lists, and we actually didn't read out the other team lists who were actually missing players as well. So, like, I think when they played the Melbourne Storm, they were missing a couple, and the Roosters were missing a couple. And I think the same thing with Penrith Panthers, where they were missing a couple when they were playing the Roosters as well. So, yeah, it was just disappointing. I'm just surprised that they didn't last at least 30 to 40 minutes. Like, I'm just surprised. I mean, even, Teddy came on the second half and he did a few good things, but even Teddy was quiet. Like, he had probably one of his quietest games all year long. It's just so strange, isn't it? You go and watch them play the week before, and you're sitting there going, "Holy, like how aggressive and dominant they are," and then they get down to Melbourne, and it's just a different team almost.
And that's where they'll always finish in the top 6 or whatever. They'll always in finals they'll beat the other 5 sides or whatever. But just against these good teams, they're just not on that level, and that they are much better than the other 13 sides in the competition, 100%. But the Roosters, similar to the Brisbane Broncos, and I think they'll have this conversation soon. Are they okay just being relevant and being around the mark, or do they want to win comps? And I think they have to make some changes somewhere, because I'm not sure if they're going to go to that next level. And maybe that's not getting rid of Robbo. Maybe it is going out and buying a star, but they have to do something.
Well, I'm a bit concerned about, so they're going to have Sam Walker and Sandon Smith. Like, that's their ideal halves pairing. Like, where's that long kicking game?
Yeah.
Beauty of the modern day is, and look, they're obviously not set up for it with Cheese and Tedesco, but you can bring in, if you've got like a pairing like that don't necessarily have long kicking game, there are ways of counteracting a little bit with a number 9 with a really good long kicking game. I know there's not a ton of them in the NRL. Fullbacks more and more now. We see Ponga, Drinkwater, Walsh. They're getting so involved, but like Tedesco doesn't have a kicking game. He's got a few more years left in him, and he's not going anywhere. They're probably not going outside of Connor Watson, Cheese. There's a bit of chat of Verrills coming back for their number 9. So I don't really see how it changes, at least in the next 1 to 2 years.
And this is Teddy's performance. 19 runs, 132 metres, 1 tackle break, 2 offloads, 4 tackles, 3 errors. Like, that's unbelievable. Like, James Tedesco.
If you're looking outside the square, like you don't want to change your spine, that's pretty well set up for a few years to come. Like, we know they're going to be pretty short on centres next year with Suoliti and Joey Manu gone. Like, I don't know if the player exists, I'll be honest. I'm just thinking about off the bat. But can you bring in like a centre with a big kicking game? Like, even when Matty Burton was playing centre, and he can come in and you can take a lot of those fifth tackle options. I know it's a bit off cuff and it's a bit different, but I'm just trying to work out ways that they can solve this issue, because with their current spine set up, it's not going to change.
Well, I mean, the problem is that I think that Chad Townsend's kicking game may actually see him push into that 7 role. I mean, into the halves, because I know Roosters fans don't want to hear that, but there may come to a point where Sandon Smith and Walker, they just don't have the kicking game.
And then, you know what? If Chad does come in and solve that problem, I think it's just going to create other problems.
Well,
then you're back with your same problem with Sam Walker.
It's just, I don't... we've heard whispers about Mitchell Moses, but I honestly feel like Mitchell Moses would solve a lot of problems for him. I know that he's with Eels or whatever, but what I'm trying to get at is when we're talking about what player suits the bill, it's a guy like a Mitchell Moses. Guess who came to the club? Cooper Cronk. And I feel like, when they brought Sam Walker through, I feel like they felt they could turn him into Cooper Cronk. They haven't done that. And it's been really hard for them to react to how do we supplement it? And they haven't actually found a number 6 on the open market that can complement Sam Walker the way that they'd hoped. But yeah, anyway, in regards to performances, positives, I thought Suoliti was outstanding. I really did. I thought that he fought for everything. He was probably one of their best players. Because outside of that, I mean, I've got to give a massive rap to Victor Radley. Him playing 2 games, with a broken scapula, it is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And yet he just got through his work, did his job.
I'm no doctor, obviously, so I don't have, and I've haven't played professional sport, but just talking to NRL physio the other day about just how fucking unbelievable this is. And he said something along the lines of that, because of what Cooper Cronk did, we sort of, that almost become sort of accepted now. Like, it's insanity.
It's insane. And he's in the forwards. If anything, it could be considered more. He's in the forwards.
Not to mention, hey, you've been playing in the back row, I'm just going to throw you in the middle for the first time in 15 weeks.
It's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. It is so tough, so tough. Sorry?
Sorry, mate, you go.
I was going to say another thing is a big concern is Tedesco and especially Angus Crichton had probably the worst games of the season for him.
that corridor between Crichton and Keary just got obliterated.
This is how good Bellamy is. There is not a single person in rugby league that would go into that game and say, you know where a spot is? On Angus Crichton. That's a spot. But Bellyache is so meticulous. He is so in tune with the game. That matter of fact, not only is that not a spot, that is a spot not to run at. Like most coaches would go against the Roosters and say, let's send all our traffic down the other edge because Crichton's going to absolutely... Bellyache goes, no. We actually see a lot of, space there. And they completely tear it apart.
I loved Kempy watching, and they do it all the time, the Storm, but it wasn't until he skinned Angus Crichton, Ryan Pappenhausen, that it really sort of hit me that went, this is a kind of unique shape that they're running. And it's the Pappenhausen off Jerome Hughes. They can do it both edges, but they do it really well on that right edge. Where, your fullback always runs a sweep, off generally with generally the back row going through or the centre, whatever it might be. They just go, no. Let's, as I said, let's spot the back rower and let's get Pappenhausen one-on-one with him. Because if we do it to perfection and time it right, which they do very often, he skins them. And then the rest of them, they've got this decision to make. And it is so hard because the way they execute it and the way Pappy executes it, we spoke about his ball playing development in recent years, they just nail it. So it literally just goes, he gets deep and he just flies onto it at full speed, running that sort of overs line, and he just beats the back rower.
Yeah.
And that was the try he scored, and he skinned Crichton. I think Keary turned out. He went straight through, went, thank you.
And then they did the drop under as well. So they must have identified the spacing between Keary and Crichton is bigger than usual, and just said, we know Crichton's not going to get across quick enough. And just like 2 tries straight through, 3 tries.
And you don't...
Hughes just went, boom, straight through.
You don't see that shape very often. It's like the Storm, I feel like Bellyache's brought it in with Pappy, and it's so effective, and we're going to see it again on the weekend in the grand final. They'll be doing that same shape, trying to get Pappy one-on-one with Garner or Liam Martin. See what you can do.
Yeah, just that is amazing coaching. Like, if anyone had said, you know what, we're going to score 3 tries on Angus Crichton, the best back rower in the competition, like he's going to win the Dally M this year, but that's Melbourne Storm. They are so meticulous in what they do. It's incredible. And also, their ability to make their opposition's best players have the quietest games of the year is insane. I think we did it a couple of weeks ago. We talked about Dylan Edwards when they played the Storm. It had his least metres run for the year. Tedesco, I think that was one of at least his bottom 3 or so, least metres run for the year, and least impact. He had that one pass to Terrell May. Outside of that, he really didn't have that much impact. And Cam Smith has always said the Melbourne Storm's one key, I guess, messaging heading into a big game is you have to beat us, but with your B game. We are not happy, but if we lose, and we lose because you beat us with a B and a C game, then we're kind of okay with that. But if you beat us with your A game, that's a massive no-no for them.
It was his lowest, Teddy.
Lowest all year long.
Yeah, except for the Bulldogs game where he got knocked out. But besides that...
That is craziness. That is craziness. I mean, who remembers a few years ago when Tommy Turbo had that crazy year, wins the Dally M, they got up against the Melbourne Storm and he just didn't do much. And he was in a record year. So, I mean, and, Teddy is he may be close to winning a Dally M this year, and that's what the Melbourne Storm did to him in a prelim. It's craziness, absolute craziness.
Just to show you another, I'm not isolating him, but I think it does show the game plan by, both these good sides against the Roosters. Dom Young this year, he averages 140 run metres per game throughout the season. Against the Penrith Panthers, he's run for 87 and 85. Against the Melbourne Storm, he ran for 64 on the weekend. It's not even close.
That's craziness.
I think they need to find ways to inject a bloke like Dom Young when the game isn't all going his way and the opportunities aren't opening up for the big long range runaways and all that. He averaged 81 metres across his 3 finals games, and they started, since Sammy Walker got injured, they started becoming quite dominant down the left, and Manu and Dom Young didn't see a lot of ball. He's such an athletic freak and has so much to offer. They need to find ways to inject him somehow because he caught a cold in all 3 games just about.
Same with Joey Manu. He was for the first half not doing much, and then he came and got involved, and the Roosters all of a sudden look completely different. And again, look, we could all be totally wrong, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but that comes down to coaching for me, in my opinion. Why is Joey Manu waiting till second half to come in and get involved unless he's being told to stay out and keep his shape? I don't know. Maybe Joey Manu was just being lazy and staying out there doing, but you don't be lazy first half and then all of a sudden try to rip in
similar to you, and I'm happy to be told I'm wrong. I couldn't, like, when I'm playing the Melbourne Storm, I thought Nick Meaney was the spot to target down that edge. And I thought they did that reasonably well. I think Daniel Tubu ended up with 3 line breaks or whatever. I could not believe of every scrum they had, they went down the short side to the right-hand side. 3 times. You've got this player that you're taking advantage of all game, and then 3 times off a scrum, they went down the short side. On the right-hand side, they turned it over twice.
Yeah.
I couldn't work out why the fuck they were doing that.
So I don't know whether is that Trent Robinson's direction, or is that the halves not listening to Robbo?
Yeah, I don't know. But whatever it is, that blew me away over the weekend because they were finding success down that edge.
Absolutely they were. The amount of times where that final tackle by Coates just shut the ball down somehow, some way. Where it Timmy, do you reckon it's a half thing? Do you reckon it's a Robbo thing? What do you reckon?
I feel like it's probably game plan related. It's like, it was odd. It was odd. I've also, without getting off topic too much and away from the game, I found the centre for the long kicking game, Adam Dewey. Long kicking game.
Okay.
Great defender. Put him at centre. Off the back of injuries and a few quiet years because of it, you'd get him probably at a pretty cheap price. Should be back to full fitness. There was already talk that he was going to be leaving the Tigers anyway, and does his future stay there? I think he would be such a good signing for them.
You know what? It's the long kicking game.
Long kicking game.
Yeah, and just get him to defend really well because you've got enough, relatively, I mean, saying that, the strike is all leaving.
That's what I mean.
I don't mind it.
You're losing your 2 gun centres.
I think he could be a strike winger.
I think he'd be such a good signing.
That's not a bad shout. That's not a bad shout at all because they need it. I don't know if they can go into another year without a long kicking game.
He's also, like, you play him at centre, but if there are issues in the halves, and long kicking out there, like, he can play 5'8", he can play anywhere in the back line,
and
really.
He's a bigger body at 6 if he had to, so his defence is going to be okay.
Jeez, he'd be a good signing.
And they can give us Spencer Leniu if they wanted to. Everyone's happy.
I suppose from that point of view, like, fuck, would have been interesting if Canterbury didn't have the turnaround that they have. Matty Burton would have been perfect for it.
Absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, it's funny, like, I'm just looking at my notes here, like, Roosters kicking game, it's just not up to the top tier standard. So look, and I've got in bold here. If you had told me Crichton and Keary was a spot, I would have said you're insane. Yet Storm see something and nail it. It's a bloody good win.
Some huge news that just dropped. It's got nothing to do with this, but New South Wales Rugby League have agreed to release Michael Maguire from final year of Origin deal to coach Brisbane Broncos.
Wow.
From Michael Chammas.
Have you posted it?
No, it literally just happened there.
Yeah, cool. Just put reportedly, obviously.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Excited to be honest. Excited.
Geez, that frown's just turned upside down.
Oh man. I think it was a coffee. Mate. I mean, we've already spoken about it. You know how we feel about it, but tell you what, that's the Broncos under Madge. You know, put it this way: as a Raiders fan, and you're about to play the Broncos, and you know they've had a preseason with Madge, like that, I assume makes you go, "Ooh, that's going to be a fucking tough game."
Oh, devastated from the Blues' perspective. We've already spoken about that, but it's just so disappointing. But mate, he's just the hard edge that the Broncos clearly need. It's a wonderful signing for them.
And he's coming to the club as well with a bit of a mystique about him. He'll be able to bring people to the club. The new dynasty and this.
Groot hasn't said a word.
Yeah, Groot.
Oh, I'm just filthy for the Blues. I fucking hate it. That's the only team I give a shit about, to be completely honest with you. And
Outside the Roosters, obviously.
Of course, because I've been their best friends the last 6 weeks. It's devastating for the Blues. Once again, though, if his heart isn't 100% in that, I 100% will find someone, but it's tough.
Good thing you got a grumpy coffee there, mate.
Tell me about it.
Have one of those.
You got more?
Turn your frown upside down. Look, I'm obviously still gutted for Kevy, but I'm excited, Uncle Michael Maguire. But I do agree with you in regards to our concern before the Origin series was maybe he's perfect for Origin because of the intensity.
Yep.
It's 3 games a year. I think he's learned enough for that not to be an issue. However, it's not one of those things that I know for sure. Like, we could get to 12 to 24 months and this young roster might be like respond quite poorly to it, to the intensity.
He also won a premiership.
100%.
Like,
100%.
he's done it.
Absolutely. But I think that, like, if there's one thing that we're still unsure of how he'll go, it might be that. Because I don't think that'll happen, though. I don't think it'll happen. But it's still a question.
If, let's say, it doesn't go well at the start. They don't respond well, and we're 2 years down the track, and it hasn't all turned around. Is Madge? Do you want to see him stay there for the next 5 years, or?
Yeah, I think we got to. Sure,
you got to, right?
You just got to lock in. Like you just. What's the point of giving the bloke 2 years? Like, who else is out there? Unless Bellyache. Honestly, unless Bellyache.
Unless Bellamy, yes.
Yeah, if Bellyache comes free, then sure. But I think you just got to, don't you?
I think so, 100%.
I don't know about giving him a 5-year contract, but I think you've got to look at a 5-year plan at least.
And the other part of that is I know every coach should have this, but not every coach does. Just needs to have complete keys to the squad and the player movement.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
there are players that won't be able to play under Michael Maguire. And he'll see them straight away and he'll say, there's no room for you in my squad. It doesn't matter who they are. If you're not tough enough and not willing to put in the hard yards under Michael Maguire, it's just not going to work. So he's going to go in there and he's going to make roster changes. He has to.
He's going to need a halfback in the next 2 years, so I can't wait to see how that plays out.
Yeah, he's hopefully Kobe Black steps up. He's going to need the backing of the board, though. He can't afford to go in there, and let's say there were some big names that just don't gel, and sometimes certain players don't gel with certain coaches. That's only natural. Then they go to another club, they kill it. But if they don't gel, the board can't go, but we really like that player, and they need to back him, because otherwise it's this weird dance of whose fault is it? Is the coach's fault or the board's fault? They've got to give him full power.
Did you know you gelled well with Madge this year, Mitch Moses?
I was about to say, if I'm Parramatta, I'd be shitting myself.
Look how happy you are.
I'm excited to see what they do under Madge, and I've said it on the Friday Packer Up Boys, and you guys can all attest to this. I was not a fan of Madge a few years ago. I thought he was too intense, too old school, and this is coming from a person that does really do appreciate a lot of some of the old school stuff. Like, I think that some clubs aren't old school enough, but I just felt he was too far that way. Whereas I do feel like over the last few years he's come somewhere in the middle where he's kept his old school hard edge, but he's understood that there are other ways of kind of dealing with this next generation. But proof will be in the pudding.
Geez, I know who's going to coach the Blues.
Well, Brad Arthur?
They were talking Laurie Daly.
Brad Arthur be an option, surely?
Yeah, I don't know.
Roo? Maybe it might be you.
Maybe.
We'll see. I saw an article about Laurie Daly. So,
I personally didn't overly enjoy the Laurie days.
Freddie, bring him back. SOS Freddie.
This is where we find ourselves, though. Like, what do we... Like, I remember sitting here at the start of the season going, well, Madge is the best option. Then, other than him, I don't know who else competes for.
You know what's crazy with Madge, though? Is like, even he, before he had that victory with New Zealand, we were all sitting there going, like, Madge, are you serious? Like, and then he got...
Woo.
I think we weren't very...
I backed Madge.
I don't know if we were...
Rewind the tapes.
I reckon we weren't that warm on him.
You weren't.
Okay, all right. And then he got that
I
victory
say that
over
with
New Zealand.
60% confidence.
And then he got that victory for New Zealand, and I think all of us were like, yeah, I think he's... But I won't speak for you boys then, but I remember not being that warm on him because we hadn't seen really... Yeah, anyway.
No love for the BA shout? There's not a lot out there.
No,
Well, he's just got a new gig.
Great
in the
coach,
UK.
bit of a hard edge on him. Hard enough.
It's 2 up to.
Twos.
Could be another one.
Bring him back.
Anyway.
Alrighty, back to the game. Just quickly, so we've spoken enough about the Roosters, I guess. Onto the Storm. This is what there's a tiny moment. It means nothing, and I'm sure people go, you see that all the time, but it still is a little moment that I enjoyed personally, just my opinion. So Katoa gets up, says, yep, I knocked it on towards the end of the game. Like, how often do we see forwards where it's a 50-50 call, and to, like, save grace, they go, yeah, challenge. And, like, he immediately got up when I think Munster ran over, or one of the boys ran over, and they were about to challenge, and he was like, no, I knocked it on. Like, just little moments like that just show you a level of accountability that these Storm players usually play with. Like, I'm trying to think, and I'm sure there'll be some howlers that have happened throughout the year, but Storm actually are one of the teams where you don't see as many howlers with the challenges. If I'm remembering correctly, I'm sure there have been some at times, but it's just an example of accountability. And, like, if you've dropped the ball, don't try to save face by, oh yeah, challenge, it was a rag or whatever.
That comes back, Kempy, to Craig Bellamy.
Yeah.
If you challenge a shit one and give it away, you wouldn't be able to look Craig Bellamy in the eyes when you go back into the sheds because he'd tear you to shreds.
Yeah, he'd be like, you just wasted a challenge for us. To go back to the Roosters, not a single Rooster was in the top 5 VB hard earned in a prelim. That's crazy. Munster was second.
Jeez.
Munster was second, the Mad Dog. But yeah, I really like that. Funny. I wrote this in my notes as well. So in the second half, I wrote Storm in the second half just running a bit sideways. They need to straight it up. Literally 2 seconds later, Munster turns Howarth under, gets a quick play of the ball. Grant, Hughes, and Pappy go to work. They straighten all the attack and they score on, with that drop under Pappy. And it's just their ability. Once they get that quick play of the ball, you're done.
Everything's meticulous.
You're done. And also their ability to identify. They're like bees to honey. Like that quick play of the ball happens, and they almost all just come in close like that and just move with the ruck. How often do you see a play the ball happen? And Cronulla actually are guilty of this sometimes. They've gotten a bit better at it, but they'll get a quick play of the ball and they'll just stick to their system. They'll just stay back. Pass. And it's just like a waste of a ruck. The Storm, as soon as it happens, they just, boom, all like that, and then just through the ruck.
Yeah, they just flood the middle.
It's crazy.
Bees to honey is a good way of putting it, because you're right. Harry Grant, he does that one-handed scoop up. They're rolling, and either side of him, Cam Munster, Jerome Hughes, they just flock straight in behind him. I was watching that game just going, I don't think there's a team in the competition that just capitalise on half chances more than the Storm.
So good at it. Every
time they create half an opportunity, they just nail it and turn it into points.
Yeah. And I think it's just the fact that Bellamy expects them, if you are on the field, you are engaged in the game. Whereas there are other coaches that, we always talk about standards and cultures, but that's what we're talking about. We're talking about coaches. Some coaches, if a player concentration lapses, there's no blow up, there's no accountability. They might be a star player, so the coach is like, I'll let it go. Bellyache is like, no, when you're on the field, you have a job every second of every minute of the game. And that's why I think they always capitalise, because they're always switched on.
And there's two parts to it. Firstly, their support play is unbelievable. Like, they have blokes that just queue up for tries whenever they go through. But when they create half an opportunity, when you're 1, 6, 7 and 9 are absolute world class, when they get half an opportunity, they get it right. Yeah. Because they are better than near enough everyone else in the position in the world.
How crazy is it? We've seen so much evidence now of put your money into your spine, and there's still clubs that will spend overs on a centre or a winger. Like, if I was running a club now, like, I would just... And look, granted, it's a market. Sometimes there's literally just no sevens on the market, and you're like, well, I've got to spend my salary cap each year. But I do think there are still some clubs that just like... They just don't follow that rule of like spend it on your spine.
Bellamy's lent into it for 20 years.
The whole time he's been around. And what's so incredible about Bellamy as well is that this spine, aside from Pappy, couldn't be more different to their old spine. Like Pappy and Billy Slater are kind of similar players. Cam Smith and Harry Grant are literally opposite ends of the spectrum. Like a running dummy half that's like just out of the gate, super explosive. And then you've got probably the smartest rugby league player of all time that's just all in between the years. And yet Bellyache's managed to make it work. Hughes and Cronk.
I think that's the best example.
They are so different, it's crazy.
Yeah, he was 20 years ago, he's sitting there, Matt Orford leaves, he goes to the Seagulls, he needs to find someone to replace him. He gets a utility in Cooper Cronk and turns him into, people say a robotic halfback. Like, as a criticism, I think it's the ultimate fucking compliment you could find.
Discipline.
20 years later, Cronk leaves and he goes, okay, who's this fullback that's been a fringe first grader? I'll turn him into a halfback. But not in the same way. I'll let him be his own footballer, and we'll work around him.
And that's something that Bellyache is. We have had him on the captain's runner. I think it's like not the start of this year. I think it was the start of this year, or start of one of the years. And I asked him the question along the lines of, this roster and the fact that they hadn't really made a bit of a dent in the final series and kind of like where they're at and how they can improve. And his response was, my focus every year is to get the best out of the current roster that I have and work with what I've got in this roster.
Yeah.
And it's just such an interesting insight where like so many clubs, they are looking at a player and going, I need you to be Cooper Cronk because Cooper Cronk was the best 7 of this generation. So I'm going to try and do that. Or I need you to be Cameron Smith. And he doesn't do that.
You know what I love about Bellamy too? And, he doesn't get too many wrong, but when he does get one wrong, he identifies it straight away. And he did that with Brodie Croft.
Yeah, and
And
that was
straight away
ruthless.
went, got that wrong. Let's change. I need Hughesy.
Yeah.
And you would have gone, like, I remember at the time going, fuck, I don't know about that. Like, I don't
Ruthless,
even know what
that.
position Hughes is. Halfback's a lot to ask for. But he straight away went, I got it wrong. I need to sort this out. And look at how it's played out.
Yep. Another real quick one. What about one of the GOAT calls? Harry Grant retracts a captain call just because he goes, you know what? I didn't see it. It doesn't, like, there's so much pressure on him, like, captain's call, captain's challenge, sorry, and he retracted it. Like, what a fucking call.
And that is the moment where you look and you go, okay, I see why he's captain.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
And, it's easy to say now because he's done so well. But at the start of the season, I'm not going to lie. Like, I love Harry Grant more than anyone. But I looked at it and went, geez, with Hughes and Munster in the squad, that's a big call to make him in
I was
line.
worried it would weigh him down because
Yeah.
he's such a free-flowing player. I didn't want him thinking about that shit. I just wanted him going 100 miles an hour. And, geez, hasn't he turned into a captain?
He's just... He mesmerises me more and more every time he plays, and this final series has just elevated that as well. And I sort of sit there and again, I look at the Storm pack and I go, obviously it's very good, but we're talking about a team that dominated the minor premiership. They've dominated their way through finals so far, and their middles against that Roosters pack, they just destroyed him. I'm like, it's just all off the back of Harry Grant. And like we know what him and Smithy as well did so well. Like they engage markers, they get them on the front foot, but they're not just like matching other middles, they're destroying other packs, and it's all off the back of the brilliance of Harry Grant. And I'd love to hear Smithy's like deep dive into Harry Grant and the way that he gets this pack moving forward, because I'm still trying to work out how he just does it so
Picks
effectively.
his moment perfectly every time. Actually, Matty, could you get up? Do you have time? Or Yep. Could you get up their 2020 squad? And let's have a look at it on paper compared to this squad, because their bench, like, I think we're going to be quite amazed at on paper. We always talk about on paper, like how far this team has got compared to what they've had in the past.
While Matty's looking for that, it is an interesting talking point, as you said, when we were talking about Magic before, what he did with the Tigers. Like, was that season Harry Grant arrived there?
Yeah,
As their starting hooker?
true.
Well, and they finished 9th.
Yep. He played
In his first year in the
15
NRL.
games that
So
season.
technically, Harry Grant's a junior, isn't he? Or wasn't he? You know what? Didn't he? Junior
loan.
for the Tigers.
We're on loan.
Didn't he nearly get a Dally M that year, and then he got injured or something? He was like leading the Dally
He
M.
got very,
or some
mate, he
shit.
fucking killed it that
Yeah.
season. He came in and
I think he
blew it
nearly-
away.
Yeah, I think he was like winning the Dally M's. He got injured or something.
Come home, Harry. Unfinished business.
Tigers junior.
Yeah.
Do you want the whole teams or just the
Yeah,
bench?
let's read the whole team out. 2020.
Okay, 2020, we got Pappenhausen, Vunivalu, Brenko Lee, Justin Olam, Adokar, Munster, Hughes. Front rowers, Bromwich, Christian Welsh, Hooker, Cam Smith. Back row, Felice Kafusi, Kenny Bromwich, Locke Nelson. The bench, Brandon Smith, Tino, Finucane, Nico Hines.
Oh my goodness.
Now read the bench out. That will probably be the bench that was on the
The bench from the Roosters game, Wishart, Welsh, Kamakamika, Alec McDonald.
Like, respectfully, on paper, that is like seriously difference. Now, and this is, I'm saying this as a credit to this current roster of what they've managed to achieve. That's like, it has just been nothing short of incredible how dominant they've been. Yeah, what an amazing season for them.
Can I just to clarify too, Madge arrived to the Tigers in 19, Harry arrived in 20.
So
It wasn't the year Madge arrived.
Okay.
But just have a look at these numbers. Like, sorry, just get back to this. Like the Tigers, they finished 9th in 2018 with Ivan Cleary, handed it over to Madge. They finished 9th again, then they finished 11th, then they finished 13th.
So they finished 9th in 2019.
Yep, under Michael Maguire, but they also finished 9th the year before that with Ivan Cleary.
Ivan Cleary.
And 2 years before that with Jason Taylor too.
Yep. Anyway, okay, back to the game.
So many great memories.
You know what's funny is like that used to be the old meme of like 9th, and like now I'm sure Tigers fans are going,
I'd kill for 9th.
Yeah, we would literally kill for 9th.
Yep.
Holy shit. Yeah, in regards to performances, I mean, there were so many across the board, but I just want to give a shout out to guys like Sean Blaw that came to the club. I'm sorry, from the West
Come on.
Tigers. Couldn't get a start at the West Tigers, took a punt, went down to Melbourne Storm, and it is actually the second year in a row that a player has left the Tigers and gone to a grand final. Apologies, Tammy. But I just want to, as I said, like guys like, you know, Ugana the year before, Blaw this year. Like Blaw wasn't even in the starting side this year. He had to work his way in. He fought tooth and nail. He made some sacrifices. I'm sure he took a pay cut. and now he's in a grand final. And the same with Eli Katoa. I know it's been his second year there, but he's another guy that a lot of potential, was at the Warriors, didn't seem to they were willing to let him go. Now he finds himself in a grand final. And it's just a really good example of sometimes you need to take a step back to take a couple steps forward. And I'm just so happy for those boys. Josh King's another one. Nick Meaney's another one. Like all these boys at clubs that were going worse, that, they were okay with letting go these boys. And now they find themselves in a grand final, all through hard work.
Yeah, it's Craig Bellamy 101. I thought a huge moment in this one. I think people talked about it for the wrong reason. Obviously, Alec McDonald, there was a knock on in that play the ball, in that knockback. It went back to play the ball. I looked at that moment though, and I cannot believe Angus Crichton tried to tap that ball back. I thought that was just the split in the mindsets of these two sides. There is not a hope in hell, in my opinion, in that situation. A Melbourne player tries to tap it back. You grab the ball with two hands and you wrap it up.
Yeah. Had an off night, the big fella, unfortunately. He's been so good all year, Angus Crichton.
It's his first off game
in a while.
This entire season.
Yeah. Yep. Just and look, the thing is really across the board, everyone had an off game. Like even the big fella, JWH, I thought he had a bit of a poor game, gave away quite a few penalties. Just didn't seem to work for him that night. Really, for me, probably their best player was Suoliti, in my opinion.
Yep.
I loved his fight. And I thought Tupou was okay too. But I just love Suoliti's fight. I love the fact that he doesn't get enough credit for a lot of the tough stuff that he does. And he gets involved in when the game's not going his way, he will go and do the tough stuff, it's a big loss for him. I wish he was still in league for sure.
Jeez, we're going to miss Suoliti.
Yeah. I reckon, I can't wait to see Nwanga Nitawase though. Like he looks the goods, the big fella.
He'll be back though.
Suoliti will be back for sure. Look, in saying that, getting paid $1 million to travel Europe or something like that, like if you go play for a European club, don't get me wrong, it's still a crazy hard game. But geez, that's a pretty good bloody lifestyle.
It's interesting with Mark next year. Surely one of him or Dom Young, and I don't think it's Dom Young or Tupou obviously, but one of them sort of has to turn into a centre, don't they?
Yeah. I probably have more faith in Nwanga Nitawase.
So do I. I think he will be a centre. Yeah.
Dom Young, he's just got to find a way to have multiple ways to damage teams. And what I mean by that is in contact sometimes, if he's losing the battle, he doesn't change the way he does his hit-ups, if you know what I mean. For example, a guy like Tupou, if he's getting dominated in a certain way, whether people are chopping him low or whatever, he would kind of change his body shape or use different ways to make his meters. Whereas I do feel like if Dom Young's getting dominated, he doesn't have it in his game to change it up a bit, the way he runs the ball.
That's what I was saying before. I think he just sort of waits for the game to come to him a bit. And the beauty of playing on the end of the back line at the Sydney Roosters is you get opportunities and you can wait for it more often than not. But when it comes to, you've been dominated in 2 finals games and he just sort of sat out there on the wing, and you're right, with what he offers, he just needs to be able to inject himself a little bit more. And I would prefer Nwanga Nitawase probably at centre than Dom Young, just because defensively with his reads, I'm not confident with Dom Young. I haven't seen enough of Nwanga Nitawase play, but has he spent time at centre or anything, do we know, in Union, or has it always been on the wing?
I looked at those reads in defence in his first game in NRL, and they were pretty bloody good. There was only one that he made a mistake, and any winger could. I just think with Dom Young, he's still so green. Just for me, I don't know. He actually, the first half of his year, Dom Young was outstanding. He just needed to find other ways to get himself involved in the game to have an impact, because he's the kind of winger that you can't afford him sitting out there waiting for the ball. He's too good to do that. He'll get there. He'll get there, Dom Young.
In answer to your question, though, I don't know positions he played in Union or not, but I remember my first thought after watching his highlights was centre.
Yeah, okay.
I reckon that's where
he played. I could be wrong, but I swear I saw him playing a bit of fullback. I probably am wrong, but I really liked his movements in defence in his first game. I thought he looked really level-headed. Dom Young will get there for sure. It's his first year in the Roosters system. I think he'll get there. And he had some really good games this year as well. But back to the Storm. Shout out Josh King. I tell you what a game. To go up against that Roosters pack and just go, I'm going all day. You might win that first 10 minutes, but I am going all day long. And what a genius move. Even Bellyache goes, okay, I had him at 13, didn't really work. I need a guy like Lioro that's a little bit more lateral, a little bit more mobile. So King goes into the front row. He's found his spot. What a bloody player.
he's developed a cheeky little offload on him.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like he's gone the last 3 seasons, 13 this year, 11, 14. Before that, like single digits, pretty ordinary, not ordinary, but just wasn't his game. But just hitting the line, that little hit and spin, and because he's got Harry Grant, who's always in support and always looking for opportunities, nice little combination coming on there.
The other one I want to give a rap to, I know we mentioned him in Team of the Week, mate, but I thought Jack Howarth was outstanding in this game. For him to come into a prelim final and have to mark Joey Manu, and as you said, like, Manu was reasonably quiet until the 50th minute when he had to, when he started to roam and everything. I think you got to give Jack Howarth credit for that.
What a player.
We keep saying on paper was one of the great mismatches.
Yep.
Howarth, like, just didn't miss a beat with him.
What a player, though. Like, this is a rookie playing out of position, maybe center his position. He's been so good. His strength in contact is crazy, and also like for him to hit that footwork on Dom Young and then gas him, like that's for a big like he can play back row, and he just put that move on Dom Young and outside back. Like I thought he was going to get caught for all money. I think we're scratching the surface with him. Like when he becomes a target for them to hit, like at the moment, he's still the rookie that is supposed to just do his job. Wait till we head into next year where they're going, we're going to set up plays for him to get. We're going to make sure that he's got room, he's got space. What a player. He is special, that kid.
I'll tell you what, for you guys in Origin too, and he's probably a few years away, but...
Oh, he's a Kiwi.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I think he's a Kiwi, yeah.
Oh, fuck, how good is their team looking? He's a perfect...
Can you confirm that? I think he's a Kiwi, though.
Jersey 17, couldn't get any better. If you're not going to have him starting in the centres, which, there's every chance he could be, but just to have him, like, you can chuck him in the back row. He's big enough to handle anywhere.
But he is... Like, I cannot wait to see his career develop. Like, this is his strength in contact now and his footwork now. Imagine when he gets his man strength at like 24, 25 years old.
Mate, he might just jump straight into Joey Manu's Kiwi jersey.
What do you got there, Matty?
Played Queensland under-19s 2 years ago, but I'm still looking.
Does it say where he's born on his wiki?
Yes. He was born in Maguire, Queensland.
So... He's not a Kiwi? What the hell? I thought he was a Kiwi for... Okay, I take all that back. There is someone that's a Kiwi that surprised the shit out of me.
Warbrick?
Nah, definitely new. Māori. Yeah.
He's played for the Maoris.
Yeah, the Māoris.
Maoris. So that's why.
Yeah, so he's Kiwi.
So he's Kiwi. Not sure about his eligibility.
He played for the Māoris literally this year.
Oh, he is New Zealand. He was part of the New Zealand Kiwi A squad.
Yeah, okay.
Man,
That's
their
so
side is building nicely, the
Mate,
Kiwis.
the Kiwis, it's really the first time in a long time where you're going, this is on paper as good across the board. Not just like, oh, great fallback, across the board.
Yeah.
You've got a guy like Hughes that's about to win a Dally M as 7. The only thing is they got a bunch of injuries at 9. And they're talking Phoenix Crossland will get there. But we'll get to that. Anything else in regards to Storm?
No, he was just to echo your point on how I think it was great. Speaking, about players that can find different ways to impact the game. He was just he was elite. Not obviously had the try, but 175 metres and 55 of them post contact. So strong. He had an outstanding game. Such a great player.
Yeah, 14 runs, 175 metres, 55 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, 8 tackles, only 2 misses. And what's scary is Coates and Warbrick, like, they didn't really have that much to do. Like, they took tough carries and played well. But usually you expect, okay, one of them's going to have, 200 metres or whatever. But, yeah, amazing stuff. Obviously, we've spoken about Pappenhausen. Nelson with his offloads, I've really felt that after that first 10 minutes, he changed it. Trent Leoro, I want to give him a shout out. 14 runs, 137 metres, 54 post contact, 27 tackles, 0 misses. He's just doing a job for him. Like, you watch the game, and he's so unassuming. Like, you watch it, and you almost, at times, don't even know that he's like on the field at times. And then you go look at the stat book, the stat book, and he's made like 40 tackles, only missed 1, and ran for 200 metres. Like, he really does get through just the shit work. Like, all the tough stuff that you want to get through, he gets through it.
What do you think Melbourne are going to do this week? Let's assume Nass is out. Do they go with the old veteran Christian Walsh to start? Do you go with Tui? What do you reckon they'll do there?
Probably start Kamikamitha, I reckon.
Kamikamitha. And then what, do you bring Valipu into the side? The closest like for like you can find, or...
Yeah, it's a tough
It's
one.
a lot of pressure, early
For a
days.
rookie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who was the middle forward that they played a few weeks ago? That I think he came from Penrith.
Yeah, I'm not sure. To be honest. You know, do you move do you put Wishart at 13 and move Trent into the middle? Maybe
I think you're probably looking a bit small there against the Penrith pack if you do that.
Yeah. Alec McDonald get us. You know, is he?
I mean, the thing about it, like obviously we'll see what happens team wise, but Christian Welch, if that game was tied, he might not have got on. He came on for like the last 8 minutes of the game or something because the game was done. So Tui probably starts. Christian Welch plays a bigger minute role off the back of it. It obviously, begs the question like who now becomes the 17th man. Yeah. But I think that probably writes itself. Then you've got the 17th man who might not necessarily play many minutes at all.
Yeah,
he's played 27 minutes in their last 2 games. Christian Welch played 60 the week before that. To be fair,
I wonder whether it's being saved, because both games haven't needed him to come on. So Bellyache's like, look, fuck, no point bashing him.
Yep.
But we'll see. Incredible win from the Storm. Alrighty, don't forget, guys, Aussie footy shorts and bloke dropping at 6 p.m. tonight. Do not forget 4 new designs, Aussie footy shorts with pockets. And also, if you want some coffee, you want to turn your frown upside down, head to grumpycoffee.com.au. We've got a bunch of flavours, premium coffee, some of the best in the business. You don't want to miss it. Grumpycoffee.com.au. We've got pods in the original Nespresso shape. We've got ground and we've got beans. So check her out, grumpycoffee.com.au. Alrighty, Panthers defeat the Sharkies 26-6. Man, the biggest, not the biggest, but one of the biggest takeaways from me from this was I actually thought the Sharkies played really poorly for how I was actually impressed with how well they managed to hang on. Man, the amount of errors, just drop balls, and they'd get down the other end and then they would pretty much like drop the ball in the third tackle. They'd get an opportunity to attack the Penrith Panthers line. And so it's a bit of a weird one. I thought the Sharks didn't play that well. However, they showed a lot of grit and fight to just stay in the game somehow, some way. And the Penrith Panthers, on the flip side of that, also didn't play that well, but eventually just kicked into gear, just squeezed the life out of them, kept squeezing, and then boom, got to the 60-minute mark and just ran away with it. So I don't think we're going to see the same Penrith Panthers run out for the grand final as we saw against the Sharkies. I thought, it did look like the Penrith Panthers were a little bit flat compared to the week before, the 2 weeks before against the Roosters. However, Sharks didn't play really that well at all, but they hung in there really tough. I think a 26-6 win for the Panthers is probably where both squads are at in regards to their development. And Panthers just do what Panthers do. Even when they're not playing their best, they're clinical. They find a way to just squeeze you out of the contest, get the job done. What do you think of this game, mate?
I agree with you on the Penrith Panthers. I think they were far from their best, but still just defensively so good. 16 missed tackles.
On their line, their defence was outstanding.
Yeah, and I personally think you're a little bit harsh on the Sharkies. I thought they were pretty good. I thought they just, they made errors, but they had to take risks to try and score on this side. I thought that Trindle's kicking game was very good in this game, and they had to take risks, and it didn't always play out, but
wasn't the risky plays I had an issue with. It was the drop balls in contact, the errors. Yeah, I just thought they made too many silly errors that, like for the coming out of or around the halfway line where I was throwing balls that were wide to try and get out. I was okay with that because you're trying things, but it was just like errors in contact, just silly stuff. The first time they attacked their line, boom, error straight away. Just little things like that where it wasn't an error from them trying things. It was just a lack of concentration or whatever. Yeah, I actually thought the Sharks played much better last week.
Yeah, I'm a bit similar to Roo. I thought the Sharkies played pretty damn well. I said scoreline aside, we saw the Panthers, they do it time and time again, but the first 20 minutes of games, they just blow teams out of the water. We saw them do it a couple of weeks ago against the Roosters. 2-2 after about 20, 25 minutes in this game. They got in the arm wrestle. They were right in it up until about the 65th odd minute in this game when the Panthers did have a few late tries. And I think certainly not the only difference, but a future immortal in Nathan Cleary was the real big difference in this game. And Cleary came up with enormous plays time and time again, from the 40-20 to the Alamotti first try assist to a few other try assists late in the game, largely off his own back. It was all Nathan Cleary. I thought the Sharks... You're right, Kempy, that they turned over too much ball. Like a 71% completion rate, you're not going to beat Penrith with that.
And it was like 70 the whole game. It's not like they completed really well and then started making.
But at the same time, and look, even with the blowout and the few late tries, the scoreline that's the gap between these two teams. The Penrith Panthers are a significantly better forward team than the Sharks, and to be, whilst they didn't overly threaten in attack, to still be in the fight and in the game with 15 to go, I thought they were really good, but too much drop ball.
Yeah, I thought, as I said, I liked their fight, I really did, but I actually think that there's a much better version of the Sharkies out there. And in the prelim game, I thought that they would offer a better version of themselves overall. Really impressed with their fight and their ability to hang in there. But even little things like the Panthers averaged 12 more metres per set. 12 more metres per set. And so I just think that Fitzgibbon will be a bit frustrated because although he did say that the Panthers are a dynasty and they're a developing side, the Sharkies, I just think that if you're going into a big game like that, you can't afford to be dropping the ball in contact and all that kind of stuff. But they showed a lot of fight to hang in there. I definitely did like that from the Sharkies.
I'd like to see what the stat looks like over the season, that average metres per set, how teams look against the Penrith Panthers, because their line speed when they get you down in a corner, and Nate Cleary always gets the fucking kick right every single time. I'd love to see how that shapes up.
And then on top of it, when you've got Taruva and Toe running for 200 plus metres every game, that just chews into it.
Yeah, 12 metres, it's actually reduced down to 11 metres now. That's the biggest I've seen this year.
And the Shark, they can beat at 71%. The Shark, this isn't saying that it's okay, but as we said, the Sharkies were excellent against the Cowboys last week. They were 72% completion last week, 71% this week.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that the difference is to last week. I think they started with a really high completion rate last week, whereas this week they never, and then they obviously dropped off in the second half. I just thought there were too many silly errors. But man, could be. I'm more than happy to be wrong. More than happy to be wrong. I thought they showed a lot of fight to hang in there. In regards to the Penrith Panthers, I personally, and I've got I don't know for sure, but they just didn't look as hyped up as they did against the Roosters in that first 20 minutes. I thought that they came into the game a little bit complacent, and it took about 60 minutes to kind of go, oh shit, we need to fucking kick into gear here. To the Sharkies, I guess we'll talk about individual performances.
Just on the Sharkies, obviously New South Wales Cup win with Newtown. The women's side are in the NRLW Grand Final. Jersey Flegg Grand Final got beaten. Hell of a year for the club, but they're trending in the right direction, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. So. Absolutely. And that's why, I just believe that Fitzy deserves a massive, massive rap. He's been at the club 3 years now, and granted, I'm sure certain things were put in place before he arrived, and I'm sure they had success before they arrived. But there's an argument to be made they're one of the most successful clubs in rugby league this year. So their women's team is in the grand final. Obviously, they won reserve grade. They come second in Jersey Flegg. That all filters down from your top tier side. And so I think Fitzy deserves a massive rap. And I really did like his press conference because he was gutted and he was frustrated and he was I'm just pissed that we lost and we didn't give ourselves the best opportunity. But at the same time, he does believe they're in a developing phase. And I think they are. I think they really are. And, what I like about Fitzy and the Sharkies is that he's been saying this for years now. It's not like he's getting to the end of the year and going, oh, we're a development side, just to excuse it. No, he has been saying for a year each year we're just instilling more standards. We're instilling better culture. We're building better foundations. We're taking little steps each year. And they have been taking little steps each year, in my opinion.
Speaking of the press conference, God, I loved when one of the journos said to Cam McInnes, who do you think wins next week? And he just flat out said, I don't give a shit. Yeah. I'm here for the Sharks. I'm devastated. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In regards to the Sharkies, I thought Toby Rudolph's first stint was not great. I thought his second stint was much better. I think with Toby, if he wants to be the starting front rower there, he's just got to find a way to just not even think about offloads or anything. So he had an error. And then I think in the second half, Royce Hunt, silly error, trying to offload the ball for no reason. Then there was this Talakai error when I personally felt Hines passed to Talakai, he should have caught it. I know some people feel that Hines shouldn't have thrown the ball. I'm in Roos camp though. If they're going to beat this team, it's not going to be through grinding them out of a game. So I thought Talakai should have caught that. The drop under for Nikora, that was probably a little bit too hard from Hines, so I'll give that error to him. You know what I mean? So just little things like that. But with Toby, I just think that, and a lot of their forwards, they've just got to find a way to like not even almost think about offloads. Just get in fast down to the ground and get quick play the balls, because that's when Toby Rudolph's second stint, when he started doing that, they got go forward and they started winning the field position. Obviously then Cleary would bloody kick a 40-20 and fucking just completely release it all. But that's when the Sharkies are at their best, when they're just fast, quick, play the balls and give Trindle and Hines, some room to play with.
I agree with you on Toby Rudolph. I thought the start of his game was very disappointing. He came good in the second half, but mate, I look at all their front row forwards and I just don't think any of them are like number one front row forwards. I think AFB arriving, if he can be the number one guy, I think all the other front rowers they've got are very good sort of like complementary pieces, but they're just missing that one main dude in the middle.
And we've been saying this for a while now
100%,
with the Sharkies.
yeah.
And also, you've got to remember that the Sharkies lost Dale Finucane middle of the
Mm-hmm.
year. And I get it. Like, Dale Finucane wasn't at the peak of his career. I tell you what, it'd be bloody helpful in a game like this.
Very
Like, this
much so.
side with Dale Finucane in it is a much better side even now.
Yeah, and you got to remember, like even before, like it wasn't that long ago they lost Andrew Fafita as well, who was that guy as well, that leader in that side. So they've lost a lot of experience there. AFB will be huge, and I reckon Toby Rudolph could do really well as coming off the bench, play your 30 minutes. Like I think he played the opening 35 minutes. Like it's just too many minutes.
Yep.
He only had one stint, 34 straight, then didn't come back on.
Did he not come back on?
No.
I thought he did.
Who's that?
Oh, sorry, he came off the bench and had his one stint.
Who's that, sorry?
Tommy Hazelton.
Yeah, see, this is...
Came off the bench and had one stint.
I'm just reading my notes. Maybe this is why I'm too harsh. This is what my notes say. Talakai, got to catch that. Trindle, another error attacking their line. My fucking God, what a stupid offload hunt. Mulatalo then knocks it on the first tackle, far out. So that's probably why I'm a bit more negative, because of my notes. You know what? There was a period there where it was just like error after error after error.
Hazelton was HIA as well.
Yeah.
HIA.
Okay.
What was the penalty he gave away that was just so silly? I'm trying to remember now.
The push. Was that him?
Yeah.
Or was that on him?
No, it was him.
It was
Pushed
on him.
He got pushed in the back.
He got pushed in the back. Yeah, the penalty on him was so soft. Another. I know I was harsh on the Sharkies. Now I'm kind of making excuses, but Mulatalo absolutely has a knee injury that he shouldn't have been on the field. Like, he could barely run.
Yeah.
Like the Mulatalo that we saw throughout the year, when he was like literally up there with the best wingers in the competition, he was nowhere near that. And then also Katoa got hit in the back. He stayed down for ages. He shouldn't have also probably been on the field either.
Mate, you could even say yesterday, all the Sharks boys at the New South Wales Cup, like Mulatalo was struggling to go up the stairs.
Yeah. And so I still think that the errors need to be improved. However, Katoa basically on his back is gone. Mulatalo pretty much gone. I think they also miss Ramian as well.
big
He's
time.
just so important to them.
Alamotti scored twice. And that's over on Ramian's side.
So much of their shape is like the success they have down that right edge, and time again it's just bringing Ramian back in underneath and just unsettling things a little bit. Jeez, he was a big loss.
Yeah. So I look at the Sharks and I go, there's so much potential there. They just got to find a way to make it click in the bigger games. But I personally think a 26-6 loss in a prelim against the Panthers, I wouldn't consider that a bad way to end the year as a Shark.
Mate, if I'm a Sharks fan, you've got your win in finals. Monkeys off the back. Obviously we saw it differently. I thought they competed in this game and had a red hot crack. I just think Penrith's defence is just too fucking good.
I agree with you. Their ability to compete, I thought was outstanding. I just feel like if they could just find a way, there's silly little errors to get rid of them.
Even again, you mentioned like obviously the turning moment of the match was what you mentioned before. It's Cleary. They did so well, everything they could to hang in and get in that arm wrestle that first 25 minutes. Then the Nico Hines tries disallowed, and Cleary just goes 40-20 try assist, and that was like, everything we've just worked for, and Cleary's just made a mockery of it.
Yeah, and then when it got real tight towards the end, broken play, they try to go down the short side, ends up just throwing it back to Cleary, and he sees Toto, just goes bang, bounce to the ball, could have gone either way, wet surface, just sits up for Toto, they score, things just go your way sometimes.
Even that was like when the game was on the line, and they were in at the Sharkies. As I said, they didn't look overly threatening, but they were in it on the scoreboard. That set of defence was great. Fifth tackle, scrambling, offloads, and Cleary comes out with that. It's just like, come on.
How do you stop that?
It's funny. It's probably some of the best defence I've seen the Sharkies have, like in a game. It's just the whole package. I feel like sometimes with the Sharkies, it's either one or the other. You get this incredible attacking side, and in regards to the halves combination, I thought both players had an area in them, but they also did some really good things as well. I did like when they were chasing the game that we saw Hines try a few things like the kick across to Mulatalo. He tried some nice balls to, I think, Kofusi that ended up dropping it. I liked that at least Hines was in the headspace to go, you know what, we're chasing the game here. Trindle seemed to take a little bit of a back step, so I'm going to try and pick up the slack here. Going forward, though, I think that look, I'm not sure what will happen in the off-season, but it looks as though Fitzy has settled on Trindle at 7, Hines at 6. I think that Kennedy is probably the one guy in the off-season that will have a lot of pressure on that position heading into next year.
I think the other thing that I observed from the weekend that I think does make it a little bit tough, you've obviously got Trindle, who's the halfback. He's a right foot kicker sitting on the left-hand side. It makes it hard.
Yeah.
If you're going to have him kicking the ball the majority of the time, which I would, you either need to work your sets out so he can kick from the right-hand side or just have him on the right. I'm not sure which way to go with it, but I just thought he was under pressure a lot in those situations.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what they do there, whether they change sides or whether he actually prefers that side of
he might. Yeah, I just it just cuts down your time so much.
It is weird how often, and that unfortunately, if he's the 7, and it looks like he's the 7 at the moment, that's his job to make sure his team gets
100%
to the right
it is,
point of the thing. And look, hopefully Trindle, I know he's been in the first grade for a few years now, but hopefully heading into next year, he's a bit more dominant in regards to telling where his forwards need to get.
Yep.
Because, you're right. The amount of times he found himself on a short side with a right, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So, as I said, when it comes to effort, I think the Sharks deserve a lot of praise. I absolutely think this is a pass mark. I think that you bring Adam Fanor-Blake into that side. You've got some young guys coming through. Your reserve grades won the comp. I think it's a good season. I think it's a good season.
Another whole pre-season to work out exactly what this... I know we keep talking about, but the dynamic between Trindle and Hines is, they said, it sounds like they've sort of settled on... they changed where Trindle became quite dominant, certainly in attacking territory, 2 weeks ago. They chop and chase it all season.
Yeah.
It's a whole pre-season to work that out. They'll come on leaps and bounds off the back.
It's interesting because the first game back, they named Trindle at 7, I think, and put Hines in the 20 whatever jersey. But then they flipped it again. So we'll see. I think that, in Trindle's defence, it's going to be much easier for him in this preseason where the coach is saying, you are 7 now. Doing a whole preseason at 7 is much better than doing it at 6. I think people have tossed up Dykes at fullback. I personally think Atkinson, I think he should put a lot of pressure on Kennedy for that fullback position. Even the little moments Atkinson got, I just love his energy. So I wouldn't mind seeing Atkinson at fullback for the Sharkies next year if Kenny doesn't go another level.
So line through Hines, wouldn't have him at fullback?
I just like Hines' running game. I just don't know where it's at the moment. I like Hines at 6. I think Hines is built perfectly for 6. I think he actually plays more like a 6 at fullback. What do you boys think?
I haven't ruled him out of playing fullback. You talk about energy.
Yeah.
Cade Dykes, he's got plenty of it.
What do you
They've been very patient with him throughout his injuries. That says it all, doesn't it, in what their opinion of him. So maybe it's Cade Dykes. I don't know. And I think it'll be... The beauty of it is between Liam Ison, they've got so many options for fullback next year. It just puts so much pressure on in competition for that spot, all pre-season, the trials,
Would you have Hines as a fullback, though, or do you think he's a 6?
No, not yet. I'm not against the idea of shifting him there, but as it stands, I'm happy with him in the halves. He's had a lot of success there. As we said, the Sharks have had plenty of success. So, as it stands, no, but I wouldn't put a line through the idea of moving him back.
For sure. I think at 6, once they get that good foundation with Trindle, I think he'll do his best work there. But I'm definitely not against. I just think that, they've got so much competition at that fullback position. I'd just like to see someone else, if Kennedy doesn't take another step, get a crack at that to see how they work with Trindle and Hines at 6.
I'll tell you just the moment in this game that I thought just summed up Cronulla's night. And I've got here in my notes, Trindle kicked it. I think you said that Hines kicked. I'm not sure who did, but when they kicked to Katoa down the sideline.
I think it was
on half-time.
It was in the last 20 minutes or so.
It was definitely Hines.
It was Hines? Okay, sweet. Regardless, when Katoa got that ball in space, I thought, fuck, what a play. And then you look up and there's just 9 Panthers jerseys. And you just go, how the fuck
do
they just keep on finding numbers everywhere?
Yeah, you know what I got wrong? I said it was kicked to Mulatalo, but it was kicked to Katoa on that side.
Yeah. So we got none of it right.
Yeah, we're good. You're right though. What's crazy is he kicked it, he gets the line break, and then there's more Panthers
It's like
jerseys
there was
there.
Panthers in front of him.
Yeah.
So you're going, how did that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I've got to talk about it. The obstruction. We've been saying all year long, the obstruction is such a big issue, and we almost sounded a bit, alarmist and dramatic about it. But we get to a key moment in a big game, or in two games. Obviously, the Dolphins game, now in the Penrith Sharkies game. What I don't get, the bunker literally said he landed on his outside shoulder.
Yep.
So, are you reading? Are you not watching? Are you too busy reading the rule book and not watching what you're actually looking at? You know what I mean? Like, is it a prerequisite in your head that you're looking to give an obstruction? Therefore, you've almost subconsciously just said he went on the outside shoulder. That's the most bizarre situation of the whole thing. Like, I could nearly, I wouldn't, but I could nearly cop the obstruction. What made it so mind blowing was him saying he hit the outside shoulder. I'm just going, what are we looking at here? I don't get it. Like, you could even argue it's a 70-30 call, and sometimes it gets called an obstruction, sometimes it doesn't. But as we said a few weeks ago, what do you want the attacker to do? He lands on his inside shoulder, he runs a good line. You're telling me Talakai, who bumps blokes for fun, you're telling me if there was if that guy was trying to stop Talakai from scoring a try, you reckon he'd fall over like that? Come on.
It's good coaching. Hit the deck. If the optics are bad enough, they'll call it.
For
It's
sure.
bullshit.
Of course. No knock on Talakai.
Yeah,
or the
for sure,
coaching.
yeah.
Fall over. Get the penalty. Great stuff. But this obstruction rule, we got to sort it out.
That's how backwards it was. When it happened live, I thought, fuck, that is a try, but they'll have a look at it twice. They'll see guys falling over. It won't look right, and they'll call it. It's ridiculous.
We need to sort it out because it really is affecting we always talk about wanting to make the game exciting. This is affecting making the game exciting because it's ruining the flow of attack. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, it was good to see Ivan took it well also. But no, credit to him when they won by 20-odd points. He has every right to come and blow up. It was a try. He went inside shoulder. Talakai made a defensive decision to go in and make that contact. It was a try. And as Ivan said in the presser, that could decide the grand final. That could happen with 2 minutes to go and a try, it's given or it's not. And then whoever's on the receiving end of it will be able to go and say, what about last week? Or what about the one before? Or what about the one before? It was a try.
There's an argument you made. It decided the Dolphins season. Now, I don't think that's fair on the Knights. It was a pretty bloody close game.
Yeah.
Was in a critical moment.
In a critical moment. It wasn't like it didn't affect the opportunity for a fair crack at winning. So it's again, what's frustrating as well is Wayne Bennett came out and said what he said about the bunker, and I think what Wayne Bennett was trying to say is look, if we're going to have this much human error, let's just cop the human error without the bunker. We'll get more calls wrong, but we'll all kind of agree it's human error. Who gives a shit? And so what I think Wayne was trying to say is what's the point of having the bunker if we're still having issues with human error? And so the NRL come out and almost scoff at Wayne, look at all the things we get right. And it's the audacity to scoff at Wayne, and then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, this happens. It's and you wonder why the coaches are so frustrated. I don't know why the NRL scoff at coaches and fans when the coaches and fans are frustrated with reffing when this happens all the time. And on top of all of that, last week, Abdo came out and said there's been no directive to change any type of, any style of reffing. Teams are just more disciplined. And it's just come on, bro. You're honestly telling me that refs don't ref finals and origin footy? Is that what we're really saying here? The fact that the reffing does change would suggest to me that they are aware that the best product is to allow the game to flow. And I know he says that they don't change it. Look, maybe it's a subconscious thing. Maybe it's just an unwritten kind of agreement. So there is no directive. It's just, we want to make finals good. I don't know. But, yeah, it's a problem. And I think the obstruction, it needs to get sorted sooner rather than later because it's just getting unbelievable.
Yeah, and you look at Ivan the other night, he knows that good coaches have referees in the bunker absolutely spinning at the moment. And he's sitting there going, I know I'm a good coach. I know the other bloke in the box is a good coach too.
Yeah.
It's going to be a critical moment in this game. It's going to come down to one of those calls. We know it.
I hope it doesn't.
Hope not. Jeez.
If it lands on the inside shoulder, unless you can see so much effort trying to get past it, then it's not an obstruction. These guys are machines. They don't get knocked over ever. These are the strongest pound for pound people in sport in this country. if they just fling their arms up and fall over, they shouldn't be like it should be like you've clearly not made any attempt to get past this person. But anyway, it happened. The good thing is the Panthers still won. Okay, let's get to the Panthers. So funnily enough, I think that like where we're a little bit different on the Sharkies. I actually think the Panthers played quite poorly. You know what I mean? So like that's why I feel like the Sharkies, like I feel like if the Panthers of a few weeks ago came out, I reckon they capitalised much more on the errors that the Sharkies made. And I feel like the fact that the Panthers didn't capitalise, to me, says they didn't play anywhere near how good we know they can.
That's fair, yeah.
But I'd love to get your point. Where do you feel the Panthers performance-wise?
I thought defensively they were outstanding.
Goal line defence.
Incredible.
Incredible.
There was even like some of the plays that I thought Trindle came up with kicks early on. There was one that he chipped over to Toto's wing. And as we said all week, you got to take risks against this side. How the fuck Toto got there on the full and made it look like it's like he had the playbook in his back pocket.
Getting out of his in goal as well.
Incredible. Like just crazy. But yeah, for Penrith, I thought, and we've given him a lot of raps over the last year or so. I thought it was probably one of Mitch Kenny's poorest games.
Yeah, he had some really poor passes. I didn't know what's going on. Like,
and
over
the guys in the team, like they didn't know what was going on. Like there was one that I think it was Liam Martin ended up knocking it on. Like it missed 4 dudes on the way there.
It went over Cleary, and Cleary went to grab it and was like, oh shit.
They all had no idea who it was for, what was happening. And I think that's one thing that has never really been a huge issue for Mitch Kenny. We've said years ago he's a bit slow around the ruck and whatnot, but that hasn't been an issue for him. I can't see him doing it 2 weeks in a row, but it definitely was a problem over the weekend.
Yeah, I think that they just did look clunky. They didn't look anywhere near as smooth as they did. However, geez, when they're a bit similar to Storm, where instead of it being Harry Grant and that are kind of getting these quick play the balls, man, the amount of times where it's Fisher Harris and then Leota, and they score points off the back of those two boys hitting up, it's like you can almost, if you're put it this way, if you're playing Penrith and Leota and Fisher Harris have taken a hit up one after each other on your line, it's almost basically guaranteed to try. Their ability to just hit the ground and get a quick play of the ball to give Cleary space, it is unbelievable.
It's just like clockwork.
Yeah, it really is. It is just like bang, bang. It's almost boring for them. And, although they looked clunky, I just can't believe Cleary's ability to nail big plays when his team needs it.
And it's, for me, the big difference between Cleary and everyone else is that he just has no hesitation. He sees Mulatalo a couple of steps out of position. He just pulls the trigger immediately. Like that, we've been saying it for years and people get upset for years, but I don't care anymore. When Nath Cleary gets the ball on third tackle and Cronulla are matching with, he kicks a 40-20, then 3 plays later, he hits Alamotti in that spot they were going for. Like, that's Freddie, that's Joey, that's Lockie.
100%.
That's exactly what they used to do all the time. And I think
big games,
people just refuse to accept Nate's at that level.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How much evidence do you fucking need?
How many times where, the Broncos run to the pump and then Darren Lockyer would just do something and you just be like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah, we said it a few weeks ago, like, if he comes out and has another big game and this one picks up a Clive, like, he's the best September footballer we've seen. You can have Origin, you can have other arguments, sure. But as far as finals footy, he's just about unmatched. If he wins this grand final, he'll be at almost an 80% win percentage in finals.
Mental. And his impact too. It's not like he's... Like, a lot of people go, in Origin he hasn't had that much impact or whatever. Okay, sweet, we can have that argument for sure. And whatever, I'll just give you that point. Yeah, for sure. In finals footy, he's never been a passenger. Yeah. Like, he is always the man. Like, he won our MV, our most valuable bloke of last year's final series. I haven't seen a final series where Cleary hasn't been probably top 3 players in the final series.
And he's also doing it this year with one shoulder.
Which is clearly bothering me. I know that, they said it's all good and he put it up or whatever. Listen, it's one thing him just like rubbing his shoulder a little bit. For him to be like holding it like that and like, because he would know anytime I touch my shoulder, everyone's going to go crazy about it. So he would have to be in a lot of pain for him to be going like, and they took him off. At the end of the day, they took him off. Like, so I'm not, sorry?
There's a reason Brad Schneider's on the bench. And it isn't because he's the best utility in the Penrith Panthers squad. It's because... NRL Physio had an article come out this week saying it could go at any minute and they need a half. There's a reason Brad Schneider's there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Same as there was a reason Jack Hogger was on the bench last year too. And they needed him come grand final time.
And what's just so impressive about this bloke's mental fortitude, Cleary, is like I can't express enough how tough it is to get yourself in a right mindset when you've got a big injury. Like, whenever you've got a big injury heading into a game, you're always in the back of your head like, oh, I'm not at 100%. Like, I wish. You're always kind of thinking, I wish I was at 100% so I could just free flow through the game. Whereas his ability to go, like, my shoulder's completely fucked. Like, that strap is strapped within an inch of its life, and he's still. And also, I reckon he's got a broken hand as well. I reckon his hand's broken.
Well, win or lose after this game, they're going to be in that presser, and they'll reveal the extent of how bad it is.
Yep.
Because they've just gone on the offense and be like, no, it's okay, I'm good. Of course you don't want people knowing how bad it is, and they'll come out there but no, like, it's gone.
Far out. It's just incredible. And, like, to have the impact, like, even so early in the game, Panthers came out playing really well. Then the Sharkies just hung in there. As we said, their effort was incredible. They're actually winning field position.
Yep.
And then Cleary just goes, I'm just going to kick a hectic 40-20. Then, as you said, try assist. And it's just like, on Alamotti, just that great shot, that face ball to Alamotti, and it's just like, how do you defend that?
That face ball, I was looking back on it and trying to work it out. Who was it at fold in defence and that, and it was sort of Nico there who was caught out of it, but I'm like, the shape they ran for that was so perfect. He was like, there are about 3 different options Cleary could have gone with where they score. If he goes, could have played short, I think Luke Garner scores, could have played out the back to Luai, they score out the back, but picked Alamotti, nailed it straight to the hole. It was a beautiful try.
I wonder, look, I don't know, maybe we're reaching and giving him too much credit, but, like, the first time they get down there, they go immediately where Ramian would have been. Like, they probably, that's the game plan. Like, Ramian's not there, let's just go straight to him.
Yeah, I think about that play too, and I pointed out a few weeks ago. Do you remember when the Roosters played Penrith? Connor Watson did the charge and he got tackled a metre out. Now, we spoke about it then. In that moment, Sam Walker, Luke Keary, one of these guys, the spine has to get the football. As soon as Nathan Cleary threw it, Jerome Luai, he went down. Nath was already telling them where they need to be, what they need to do, and there was just no question over who was getting the football. Your strike man gets the football immediately, and as you said, mate, it was put your hand up. Who wants to put it down for me? Stuff.
Yeah, it was so nice.
I personally, I was on Nath for any time try score. I'm going, just score yourself,
mate. It is just an absolute pleasure to watch. In regards to some other performances, Alamotti, what an incredible journey for this young fella. We spoke a bit about him in the Team of the Week, guys. So if you want to hear more about him, but he was outstanding, and, like, really, the only question was heading into this year or when he got that spot was his defence. His defence has improved in a few games. Like, I'm not sitting here saying he's the best defensive centre in the competition, but he made some quality tackles on the weekend in a friggin' prelim, and all of a sudden you're going, we've got we got a rookie, because we have to remember he is still a rookie, that is one of the more exciting outside backs coming through the ranks now.
The centre matchup this week is going to be sensational.
Yeah.
Like, for me, if I'm playing Melbourne, I've said it a few times, I'd be targeting Meaney. If I'm playing Penrith, I'm targeting Isaac Tunga. And you got these 2 young guys, Howarth and Alamotti, both sitting in the driver's seats in that spot.
Also, so strong in contact, both of them.
Yep.
Like that contact is going to be hectic.
It's like the one chink in both teams' armour is the centres defensively going, they're both going to back themselves in attack to go, that's where we're going to do our damage. Who's going to hold up defensively?
I think I will get to it in the preview, but I think Cleary will get targeted quite a bit just to see where he's at. In saying that, Bellyache is such a master. He'll probably pick someone that we didn't even think of. He'll probably target Yo.
Well, on that note, 185 run metres, 41 tackles, 0 missed, 3 tackle breaks. I'm willing to say Yo has been the best and most consistent player over the last half decade. He's been unbelievable. He just doesn't play a bad game.
He's player of the year for me for the Panthers for sure. Mate, even though he gets a lot of raps, he still doesn't get enough.
Not enough.
Honestly, he's still underrated in my opinion. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous. And you know what I think it has a lot to do with? The fact that he came into Origin and it didn't really work for him as that 13. Then he comes into Origin this series and he essentially plays like a front row. And all of a sudden he had an outstanding series. And I think that has a lot to do with how the speed of Origin, that you can't really ball play as much.
Yep.
But in regards to, dynasties, the people will remember Nathan Cleary, but I think the diehards will remember Yo. I think that in 10 years' time or 20 years' time, when you're talking about the dynasty of the Panthers, the wider audience will talk about Nathan Cleary, but I do believe that the diehards will go, there was a man, like, a lot of people won't remember that Cleary missed a lot of the seasons because you don't remember that stuff. You just remember the premierships. But the diehards that watch week in, week out will go, mate, without Yo and Luai to an extent, but definitely Yo and also Edwards, they don't finish in the top 4 to have 2 cracks at it.
5 grand finals in a row in those years. Isaiah Yo's played 24 games, 24, 23, 25, 22.
Absolutely incredible. And I think also he's getting into the territory. Look, I understand it's hard to put him in greatest of all time because of the origin situation and his style of play suits more of a front rower. However, in clubland, he should be in greatest of all time conversations for lock, in my opinion.
I want to throw in a challenger there for most consistent. I'll just give you some stats. 22 runs, 238 metres, 94 post contact, 9 tackle breaks and a try. Brian To'o.
Thank you, Hammy. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, To'o's already the GOAT for me.
How about Yo's tackle efficiency the last 5 years? He's been above 97% 5 years in a row.
Insane.
He's 98.25% tackle efficiency this year. That is unbelievable.
So he would have missed, 10 tackles or something?
Not to mention
16. He's missed 16 tackles out of over 900.
What?
Not to mention this guy is playing Origins, Internationals, going all the way to Grand Finals.
Yeah, remember in the World Cup, he didn't miss a tackle the whole tournament, I'm pretty sure.
Do you have him in the conversations as not as the GOAT 13, but as one of the greatest?
Yeah, bloody
13s?
oath. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because
Timmy?
he's also like I remember, and he used to shit me to no end years ago when we were having conversations about Jason Taumalolo being the best lock, and I just went, he's a middle forward. He doesn't Isaiah Yo does it all.
He really does. His ball playing is so good. What about you, Timmy? Do you have him in the conversation at least? Bradley Clyde.
I was thinking Bradley Clyde.
Conversation. I'm not saying you put him as the GOAT.
He's 5 NRL Grand Finals in a row, and we've just read out his stats and his durability, so he's going to be in the conversation.
Do you think the Origin situation kind of makes it a bit wishy-washy because
he's also won Origin series? This year.
It's more. I don't necessarily mean that he's poor. I just mean that he, for some reason, his style just hasn't adapted to Origin, and he's a better front row style player.
He'd be in the conversation without probably not finishing top 3 just yet. But
who would be Bradley Clyde at 1?
Bradley Clyde's still 1, without a doubt.
And then who you reckon would be your 2 and your 3?
That's a lot of pressure on the spot.
On the spot. That's what I mean, though. Like the fact that you're unsure of the 2 and the 3. That's why
he's in the chat.
That's why he's in the chat. That's why he's in the chat.
And I think there are a lot of people that automatically in that would go towards your Taumalolos, your Paul Gallons, who I personally think were front row forwards, not locks, not traditional locks anyway. Whereas Isaiah Yo is an out and out 13.
Yeah. What about you, Hammy?
No, definitely in the conversation. I think you've got to have him on the podium for sure. I agree with what you say, Roo. I reckon Gallon and Taumalola were the 13, but it was... Yeah, they weren't amazing ball players who, do a lot of work, putting other guys in holes and stuff as well. He's a freak. He's probably the best, that I can remember watching play, during my time watching footy. So I definitely have him up there for sure.
Did Sammy Burgess wear he wore 13 for a lot of his career?
He'd be one.
Sammy Burgess.
He'd be one on the podium probably, or at least in the top 5. Sammy Burgess.
Just depends what you value. Like Sam Burgess probably his absolute best has a higher ceiling than Isaiah Yo, but. You just never get bad games out of
also his longevity, Isaiah Yo.
And longevity is a big thing. Like Sam was fantastic, but Sam could have a game where he'd knock on 2 or 3 balls. Isaiah Yo's a bad game for him is a missed tackle.
I literally can't remember the last time he knocked a ball on. What do you reckon, Matty?
Oh, he's definitely in the conversation. It's so hard with lock spot because no position has changed more than lock so
and also
many
different
times.
types of locks too.
So purposeful for your team and your situation.
Yeah, but he's I reckon it'd be disrespectful to not have him in the conversation.
Yeah. He's so good, man. He's so friggin' good. It's a joke.
He had a handling error on the weekend, mate.
Oh, did he really? My bad. My bad. What happened?
Has he got to go?
I can't even remember it. I've just looked at the stats.
Did it say error or handling error?
Handling error.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that was it? The Mitch Kenny pass? Is that what they counted as a handling error? Because was it him that knocked it on?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I'll have to find that. Jeez, my bad.
Dropped the ball, literally.
Okay. Take back everything I said. not in the
Out of the conversation.
Has Cleary got a call to make for this weekend?
Okay, in regards to other players, also I want to talk about Ivan Cleary. This guy, his achievements, 6 grand finals. He's won 3 premierships. He's going into his 4th in the salary cap era as well. When he took over this squad, basically no Origin players. None of these guys were Origin players. So he didn't come in to a top tier squad. He had a lot to do with the younger generation. He went away for a couple of years, came back. I just think that Ivan Cleary, he's not at Craig Bellamy's level yet, but I think he's probably surpassed Trent Robinson. I think he's surpassed a lot of these guys except for Wayne Bennett and Craig Bellamy right now for me.
I still think when you look back in the history of the game, I think he made one of the biggest decisions we'll ever see. They lose the 2020 grand final, and in my opinion, they lost it because of the experience of Cameron Smith. They went into the 2021 season. Keep in mind, the last 3 teams to lose grand finals after Penrith are in absolute fucking shambles right now, sacking coaches, hoping to make the top 8. Penrith find themselves in a position where they lose because of experience, and James Tarmo and Josh Mansell, literally their 2 most experienced players. He goes, you can leave. I trust the squad that I've got here. You mentioned as well, mate, like Ivan Cleary, he had to walk back into the side that showed him the door a few years ago.
Yeah. And he took the Warriors to a grand final too.
Yep.
Like we talk about, when they got to a prelim, that was like stopped the nation kind of stuff. Cleary bloody took them to a grand final.
It's only happened twice. And I mean, the last time they were in a grand final, he was the fucking fullback.
So what an incredible achievement from Ivan Cleary. And what blows my mind even more is it doesn't look like we're at the end of it. Like we're not sitting here going, they're an aging roster that, if anything, heading into next year, they would absolutely be, top 2.
Nath might still have his best footy in front of him.
It's just, mate, absolutely crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff. Anyone else stand out for you, boys? Fisher Harris.
Yeah, I was just
very
touching on the whole front row rotation.
Yeah.
I was like, we talk about Fish and the Oath and that every week, and it's the rinse and repeat. Just that rotation of Smith, Henry, Eisenhuth, just so reliable. And the casual rugby league watcher walk past them down the street, they wouldn't know who those blokes are. But simplicity is key, and they play the game so well. They come on, they do their jobs. They're not asked to offload. They're not asked to do anything out of the ordinary, to run for 150 metres, any of that. It's just win your wrestle, take your runs, leave the flashy stuff to the superstars around you. But each and every week, they don't miss a beat, those middle forwards.
Lindsay Smith was outstanding. He's so good off the bench. I think I'd be starting Liam Henry next year.
Well, he's so good off the bench too because he covers multiple positions. Like, you put him out on the edge, he kills it. He kills it. And again, just what you said, they could walk down the street and a lot of people wouldn't know who they are. And like Lindsay Smith, he was in the grand final side last year, I think.
Yep. Walk down the street, they'd think it was Tim.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like, you look at the best front rowers in the game. You look at Fanua Blake, Payne Haas. These blokes, particularly in big games, play big minutes. Whereas the blokes at Penrith coming off the bench, they're playing big minutes to come on because Fish and the Oda aren't big minute front rowers. They play their 40 to 45, but benchies at other clubs, they might come on and pay 20 to 30. Even at the Roosters like Spencer Leniu, they're playing big game time off the bench.
Yep. And obviously the shout out, Brian Toto. I mean, greatest winger of all time in my opinion.
Yep, unbelievable.
He's locked in for me.
He was great. I also thought his mate on the other wing, Taruva, very good as well.
Defensively too.
That desperation to get back and clean up that ball that Dill Edwards batted back inside.
What about that 40-20 save from Dill Edwards?
Yeah.
That was guarantee out. That was out. And he just found a way to get across there and then Taruva to make sure it...
Yeah, well, yeah. Both of them amazing because, Taruva to have the presence of mind to go, geez, he might need a bit of help here.
Yep.
Otherwise it would have been a guaranteed try.
It was a dumb penalty, 2 tackles after that too. Like that moment could have turned this game.
Yeah. Don't get me started on the dumb stuff with Cronulla. No, I'm joking. And Sharky's fans, I still think he's had an incredible year and you showed... I give effort an A+ for that. I thought they fucking tried their hearts out.
Yep.
Okay, quickly, because we've got to wrap it up. Let's get to Face Some Music. Our friends, Sports Bet. Let's do our picks.
Yep, let's do it. All right, so the prize is head-to-head. I want to get a head-to-head result, a try score, and a Clive Churchill medalist from each of you. So the Storm, $1.83 favourites as we record right now. The Panthers are $2. The line, bear with me, is 1.5 points. What do we reckon?
Alrighty, I'm going Storm.
Yep.
1 to 12.
Yep. That'll get you 295. Storm 275. Storm 1 to 12.
Because we got it because the line's so small, we have to do a margin.
Yep.
Storm 1 to 12, and I am going to go. I'm going to go.
We're standing out as well, Hughes and Cleary, aren't we?
Standing down Hughes and Cleary.
Hughes is $5. Cleary's $4.50.
So I'm going to go Munster, Clive.
Yep, $8.50.
And anytime try scorer, let's keep the wingers out.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to go Howarth.
I'm going to go Penrith 1 to 12. I'm going to go Isaiah Yeo, Clive, and give me Alamotti, ATS.
Isaiah Yeo, $11 for the Clive.
Panthers 1 to 12.
Yep.
I think they should be
$2.95.
favourites. They are not. I do not make the odds, so it doesn't matter. Clive, Dylan Edwards, and anytime try.
He's 950.
I'm going to continue his reign of try scoring. Paul Alamotti going at Meany, I believe. So, big Paul.
Yep.
I'll go Penrith 1 to 12, and I'll go Luai.
Yep. Don't mind it. I want that to happen. My heart wants Luai to do well, but I think the Storm, based on what I saw last week, I think the Storm win 1 to 12, and I think Pappenhausen gets his second Clive at $10. I'll take him to score a try as well.
There you go.
What about first grand final in half a deco? No one's going to bet on Stephen Crichton.
Oh, wow.
Devastating.
Oh, no.
I actually think that
He might still score.
I'm tipping Penrith, so I've got to go then with the Clive. But I reckon the Harry Grant odds, I think he's about 9 or 10. To be double Hughes, I think that's madness.
The Edwards and Yo odds are juicy as.
Yeah.
Like, juicy as. Yo being $11, I actually put a cheeky little bet on it.
Especially adding in Cleary, he does have the buggered shoulder.
Yeah,
Like, anything could happen there.
And
correct.
Yo's a guarantee 8 out of 10 game.
Yeah, and then Luai, you had him, Matty, he's $14, so don't mind that.
See
at
the
all.
other one who's a little bit of value, and if something goes wrong early and he gets into the game, a little mate Wishart's at $51.
Yep.
If he finds a way to sneak onto the field,
He's the kind of
early,
player, yeah,
He's the
like-
kind of player that could do
If
it.
Munster goes down or something, then he...
Tight game, he scores a rip and show him go try.
Oh, could you imagine?
Unbelievable.
Alrighty, don't forget, guys, Aussie Footy Shorts and Bloke dropping 6 p.m. tonight. Be there. They absolutely flew last time. And also, grab some Grumpy Coffee. grumpycoffee.com.au. We've got pods, we've got ground, whole beans, all that good stuff at grumpycoffee.com.au. Also, give us a follow on at Grumpy Drinks on Instagram and Facebook, all that good stuff. Give Rugby League Guru a follow on Instagram and podcast, SC Playbook, Hammy, all that good stuff. Give them a follow, leave a review, give us a like, all that good stuff, and I'll go fuck myself. Thank you.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.